And a very good evening to you. Welcome to Chestler Street. It's the first T20 international between England women and India women. The first of 3 T20 matches to be followed by 3 one-day internationals. A game which was due to start at 7 o'clock this evening, but due to some very heavy rain which fell this afternoon, it's been put back to a 7:30 start. The good news at the moment, it is dry, which is good news. The toss has taken place. We'll go through the teams in a few moments' time. England deciding they're going to have a bowl first on winning the toss this evening. But the scene, as you may imagine, is not what you would normally expect here this evening. Following the death of Queen Elizabeth II this week, it's a rather sombre mood compared with what you might expect on a Saturday night in this part of the world ahead of a big game of cricket like this. The electronic boundary signs around the ground and the big screen, all reflecting really this period of mourning as well for the nation. A darkened black background, pictures and images of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, and also we have the signs of Queen Elizabeth around the ground. The applause you can hear from a decent-sized crowd in this evening, though, is part of what I think the ECB, the governing body, were hoping for today, that although this will be a period of reflection and sad loss this week, but also a chance for the players and those of us observing, whether here in the commentary box or out there, the spectators as well, a chance for us to pay our tributes as well, to celebrate, as you can hear there, a certain amount of happiness in reflecting that celebration of the Queen's life and service, as both sets of players make their way through a guard of honour which is actually set up this evening. I think this is a nice touch. The Sunderland Cricket Club, there are about 7, 8, 10 members of the women's team there from the Sunderland Cricket Club. No flags tonight being waved. As I say, things just a little bit different in trying to get the balance right between paying respects but also to celebrate and give tribute to the life of Queen Elizabeth II. The England players have walked through, the match officials walking through, the Indian players now walking through as well. And what we will be doing in a moment or two's time is we will be having a minute's silence as the players now just turn, along with the match officials, to turn back towards their dressing room area. It looks like the backroom staff as well. They're not going to join in with the players in that line there immediately going through the guard of honour, but they're going to line up around the boundary away to our left-hand side as well. It'll all go quiet for the minute's silence, and the announcement being made on the public address system right now.
Deeply saddened and share the sorrow of the nation at the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. The Queen and her late husband, His Royal Highness Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, both had a long history of supporting cricket and England's national sides. We recognise her immense contribution to the nation across the Commonwealth and around the world. For those who are able, please be upstanding to observe a minute's silence in memory of Queen Elizabeth II. Please remain upstanding for the national anthem, God Save the King.
God save our gracious King, long live our noble King. God save the King, send him victory.
was actually quite charged and emotional in terms of the silence and the faces. Looking at some of the faces, I'm sure not only here but maybe around the country over the last 24 hours or so, there's been a sinking in, a realization of that constant that is no longer here. And I think I saw that as we were looking around the crowd here. The recording there of Laura Wright singing God Save the King. Nikesh Regani is alongside me, part of the commentary team, and will be obviously moving into the game, which is due to start late, 7:30 this evening. That is due to the weather here today. But Nikesh, I found that actually genuinely quite emotional. Say, just looking around some of the younger faces, but also some of the older ones around the ground as well.
Absolutely, yes, and you're right, absolutely everybody in this stadium having to get used to the new national anthem with the slight change of words there, God Save the King, and a momentous occasion really for those who are here to be involved in one of the first public renditions at a mass gathering of the new national anthem as well. So you're right, we're down to the cricket now, but it's great to see so many people in here for what is a very sombre atmosphere, as you mentioned here. Big game of cricket, of course, but it felt like it's the place to be to gather with other like-minded people. The national anthem is here, the black armbands are being worn, the Queen's face on the big screen as well, and as you say, the black advertising hoarding, so that the mood feels just about right.
It does, and I think that the idea is tribute and celebration as well in amongst it all this evening. I'll let you go through the toss and the team news right now. This is Kevin Howells with you alongside Nikesh. You also got Melissa Story with us. Deep Das Gupta is also joining us this evening, pleased to say. So Melissa will come in and take my place as we get proceedings underway with the action out in the middle. Nikesh.
Thank you, Kevin. Yes, so as Kevin mentioned earlier, England have won the toss here and they've decided to have a bowl first. Plenty of rain around this afternoon. We are thankfully going to, as things stand, get a full game in, 20 overs per side, slightly delayed here by half an hour, as we mentioned as well, but certainly bowling conditions, if ever there were any. The pitch is a little bit wet still, very green, lots of grass cover on there, and no hesitation from the stand-in England captain tonight, Amy Jones, captain and wicketkeeper for the evening and for the series indeed, in place of Nat Siver, who was initially named in charge of the side, but taking a break, of course, to focus on her mental health. So we'll go through the two teams then. England line up as Danny Wyatt, Sophia Dunkley, Alice Capsey, Amy Jones, Maya Bouchier, Riley Smith, Sophie Eccleston, Freya Kemp, Sarah Glenn, Freya Davis, and a debut for Lauren Bell. India have a debutant of themselves, Kiran Navgire, set to come in the middle order, but they are going to be set to open with their tried and trusted pair of Smriti Mandhana, who's all set to take strike here, and Shafali Verma at the other end. Harmanpreet Kaur due to come in at 3 or 4, we imagine. We'll go through the rest of the India side in just a moment, but it looks as though it's going to be Lauren Bell, the debutant, opening the bowling here into Smriti Mandhana. It's outside the off stump, it's chopped away, but only as far as cover inside the ring, and there is no run. So Lauren Bell underway in her international career, Melissa, and great to see two debutants on show here.
It is. We've got a real mix here of experience and youth, particularly in this England side today. A lot of youngsters, and it's great to be seeing Lauren Bell with the new ball in hand. That first delivery didn't suggest a lot of pace in this wicket, which we may have predicted looking at the greenness of the surface. But hopefully as she builds into this first over, we'll just see a bit of carry in the trademark in-swing or away swing to the left-hander we're used to seeing.
In she comes again, Bell. And again, Mandhana just having to wait a touch before she knocks that into the covers once more. So a couple of dot balls to start with. As you say, no great pace, 107 kilometres per hour, and it looks very sticky out there, doesn't it? The conditions, lots of moisture in the pitch.
It does. Mandhana as well, I think, is going to enjoy the bowling of Lauren Bell because she's swinging it away from the left-hander. If she just waits for it a second whilst the ball grips on the surface, she'll be able to free her hands through that offside.
Bell in again, slightly fuller, and a big waft outside the off stump this time from Mandhana, and there's the slight away movement that you talked about there. Head was in the air though from Mandana, not a great looking shot.
No, I mean, it may be her best shot, but as always, usually the shot which brings you the most rewards also brings the most risk. So if Bell can continue to just push the ball up that bit fuller, then it'll be tempting for Mandana, because she just wants to get always her account open, get a boundary just to kickstart this India innings. But Bell's not going to make it easy for her. She's been operating with the new ball for the Southern Vipers and the Southern Brave for quite a while now, and she's still young, but she's so experienced.
Mandana, though, one of the finest players through the offside in world cricket. In comes Bell again, and this is hammered just over the top of mid-off, and that gets her account underway, gets India underway with a boundary as well. Much better looking shot that from Smriti Mandana. A couple of bounces into the rope in front of us. India 4 without loss.
She's one of the most aesthetically pleasing players to watch in cricket in general, and a lot of similarities with Sophia Dunkley really in the way they take the attack against the seamers and the spinners down the ground. In the power play, it's so important to just push that pressure back on them early on.
How does Lauren Bell respond? In she comes once more, again just outside the off stump. Nice bit of shape away, this time left alone by Mandana.
Nice to know that last delivery was, according to our screen in front of us, 107 miles per hour. So she really has built up the pace across this over.
Yeah, maybe something wrong with the speedos in this part of the world.
Or we've just witnessed a world record.
I'm sure there was one earlier which said 107 miles an hour. I misread it as 107 kilometres per hour. That seemed more likely. This time another play and a miss. This time looking for a cut shot, Smriti Mandana. And Lauren Bell gets her first over in international cricket under her belt, and it's been a pretty tidy one. There was that lovely shot down the ground by Mandana, followed by 5 dot balls in and around it. 4 without loss India after the first over. And Melissa, we're watching one of the finest batters in world cricket at the moment, certainly in the women's game, but if not all world cricket, in terms of just being aesthetically pleasing, as you say, through the offside, and that elegance from Smriti Mandana, and a player in prime form as well through the Commonwealth Games, and just has really stepped up to the plate as one of India's senior cricketers and premier cricketers as well.
She has. She's got 16 half centuries in this format for India, and there is a lot of reliance on the top of this order, and actually the top 3, now that Harmanpreet Kaur is continuing at number 3. The likes of Mandana, Shafali Verma, Harmanpreet Kaur, they're going to be essential here for India. And they may as well make the most as well out of this England bowling lineup being relatively inexperienced. They've not got Catherine Brunt in this lineup. She wasn't named in the T20 squad, and they've chosen not to play Kate Cross as well. So we've suddenly got Lauren Bell and Freya Davis opening the bowling. If these two batters are clever about this, they'll recognise this inexperience and just try and get on top early on.
Right, it's going to be Freya Davis from the far end. Shafali Verma facing up for the first time this evening, and it's down the leg side, signalled wide immediately. Verma unable to get any contact on that, but a loosener from Davis to begin with.
And it's a great opportunity for Davis to operate with the new ball, because often before she's come in as a first change bowler and you've seen her bowl more cross seam stuff, bringing in those slower balls into the equation, but she's got a chance now to swing the ball away from Shafali Verma.
Verma takes her guard once more. In comes Davis, and this is guided just backward of point, gets off the mark nicely with a single. And Shafali Verma, of course, burst onto the scene as a 16-year-old, just blazing away at the top of the order. Comparisons were being made with Virender Sehwag of yesteryear, and she seems to have just reined herself in a little bit in recent times, and she's obviously been told, look, there is a lot of reliance on this top order. She's bound to know that, but also just given the amount of talent she's got, she doesn't need to go at everything, does she?
She can give herself more time, especially with Smriti Mandana at the other end, who goes off all guns blazing from the start. She just gives her a bit of time to relax and settle into her innings.
Right, Mandana then facing up to Davis for the first time. It's just outside the off stump, and she finds the gap there at cover. Maybe a slight misfield there. It's trickling away towards the boundary, won't quite make it. And the Indian batters get back for a couple of runs. Was that a misfield?
I think it was. I think there was a bit of a bridge situation here where maybe Sophia Dunkley, I don't want to put a name on it just yet until we see this replay. Looks like Is that Alice Capsey?
That was Alice Capsey, number 64 on her back.
Fantastic in the field. It's just warming up.
Davis into Mundana again, who attacks this one, and this time it is well fielded by Capsey in the covers, diving way towards her right. Just slightly short of her length, and picked up early by Mundana, but didn't quite get the desired contact. Dot ball.
It's definitely looking a bit trickier to get away when it's back of a length. That wasn't the best delivery from Davis, but with this slower outfield and slower pitch, you've got to put a lot of oomph behind it just to pierce this inner ring.
So India 8 without loss then, midway through this second over. And she comes again, Davis, and this is clipped through mid-wicket. There is a sweeper out there giving chase. Going towards her right. Cuts it off, and then gets another couple onto the total. Freya Kemp there, the sweeper on the leg side. 10 without loss, India. And then on to 8.
And of course the classic left-hand right-hand combination here, causing not any problems for England per se, but the inconvenience of the field, having to swap and change every delivery, having different plans for each of these two batters who have quite different distinct styles.
Davis in again. This is slightly short, pulled away just wide of mid-on. They will get through for a single. Shai comes in at the stumps. Mundana was home at the non-striker's end pretty safely, and that's been another feature really of this opening pair of India, the running between the wickets. The understanding seems to be improving in recent times. Of course, Shefali Verma more of a permanent fixture now across all formats for India, and crucial really in this format of the game.
Absolutely, they'll just be getting used to each other and developing that almost telepathic link between you when you just settle into an opening partnership. You just know when to run.
Shefali this time flicks away, can't beat the diving mid-wicket there. Bouchier with the stop, and that is the end of the over. So 2 overs gone, India 11 without loss. They'll be pleased with that start on what does look like a slow and sluggish pitch. As we mentioned, a really good crowd in here this evening. There is the one temporary stand across to our right as we look over to the ground, which is out of use, but almost every other stand pretty full. Atmosphere still a little bit sombre, as you would understand at this time of national mourning, but lots of Indian support, lots of England support, lots of kids. It's great to see.
It's been fantastic, and yeah, the crowd, or the stands which are open, are full of very grateful fans to see cricket return to the north.
Lauren Bell continues then into Mundana, who lofts over the top of mid-off once again. Couple of bounces and into the rope. She's played that a couple of times so far this evening. Lauren Bell just over pitching slightly, and India move on to 15 without loss. And Melissa, the speedometer has been fixed 63 miles an hour officially.
That seems a bit more accurate, but yeah, Mundana here just taking a fancy to Lauren Bell, and it's forcing a change in the field, or at least a change of personnel. Actually, Amy Jones has had the helmet run onto the pitch, so she's going to stand up to the stumps and prevent Smriti Mandana using her feet and targeting that region over mid-off.
Bell then runs in once more past the umpire, delivers, and Mandana this time just defends into the leg side down to mid-on, and there is no run.
Yeah, speaking of the crowd, I went and did a little lap before the game started, obviously a delayed start, and as you know, it's a bit sombre. There's not music playing here. It's a dedication to Her Majesty, but it's a fantastic family atmosphere still. There's activities around the back of the stands of catching drills, a bowling net to try and deliver the speed
You
of
had
the
a
bowling.
go, didn't you?
I didn't have a go, but okay.
Took a catch?
I did take an absolute
Blinder.
It's a blinder on my level, meaning it's probably just a normal catch for anyone else who's actually good at catching.
In comes Bell to Mundana once more, who looks to guide this one down to deep third, plays and misses. Good take there from Amy Jones, no run.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with the catching nets, the springs.
Yes.
And I could see a young boy gearing up his arm, and I was like, he is going to throw this as hard as he physically can, and it's going to ricochet back into the crowd. So I decided it was my time to step up and be the civilian I've always wanted to be, and took the catch to prevent an older lady behind me getting
Was it a diving
smacked.
catch?
Oh no, I wouldn't dive
No.
in these jeans.
Okay, fair enough. not quite a blinder then. In comes Bell once more, and this is pulled away just out of the reach of mid-wicket there by Mandana. Again, really quickly onto that, just slightly short delivery from Lauren Bell. She looks in sublime form, Mandana. Another boundary to her in India. 17 from 14 she is now. India 19 without loss in the third.
And Bell under pressure here on her T20 debut. It's what Mandana does so well, and we saw this across the Commonwealth Games. She really got going quickly, and sometimes Shefali Verma at the other end had hardly faced a delivery, and it's this combination they're building up together.
Bell once more, Fuller this time, and it's flicked away, and that's a really good stop by Bouchier, but they do get through for a single. Just diving away to her right there at mid-wicket. 20 without loss now, India. One ball remaining in the third, and Lauren Bell, she's conceded 13 already under a little bit of pressure early on.
Yeah, and it's never easy as well, but fortunately she's got a few of her Southern Vipers teammates, Maya Bouchier, Freya Kemp out there, and they all know each other so well. They're playing against each other in the domestic competitions and in the series against South Africa earlier this year, so it was nice to see Sophie Eccleston there. Just go over to Lauren Bell from mid-on, give her a bit of advice.
Final ball of the third over is into Shefali Verma, who lofts this down the ground just out of the reach of mid-on once more, and it trickles away into the rope. Not quite timed perfectly, that from Shefali Verma, but good intent, and India off to a bit of a flyer right now, 24 without loss.
It's this new era of Indian cricket where they're prepared to take that risk, and they've recognised the importance of the power play when only two fielders are allowed outside the inner ring. They take on these risky shots, and you know, yes, you may lose a wicket if she hadn't quite got enough on it there, but it was enough of a reward that Shefali Verma could go for that one there, and it was a bit of a club in the end, but all you have to do is clear that fielder and then you're reaping in the rewards. And suddenly 24 for none after 3 runs going and no wickets as well. It's forcing a bowling change.
Yep, Bryony Smith into the attack then from the far end in the power play, which is interesting. So going to spin early on are England. Of course, looking to turn it away from the left-handed Mandana, who's currently on strike. And she comes, Smith, and it's a leg side delivery, just clipped off the hip to mid-wicket. They go through for a quick single, they make it comfortably in the end. Good running there.
It's good to see Maya Bouchier occupying her more traditional mid-wicket to in-the-ring fielding positions. I'm not sure whether she's actually just been dropped to the boundary to completely make my point void. Actually, no, she's there at cover, but it's weird. Her first few months of her international career, she's been put out on the boundary straight away, but for the Southern Vipers, she operates at short mid-wicket and extra cover. She's incredible in the ring. We've seen 2 fantastic stops from her so far. She's doing what she does best.
Smith into Verma, who lofts this over the covers, and it plugs in the outfield. In fact, didn't time it particularly well, but it just stopped dead, didn't it? It was a perfect sort of iron shot in golf when you're looking to just pitch one up to the green, but not the ideal result for Shefali Verma. Just the single after all that.
It actually ended up spinning back towards Bouchier at cover. It was almost like fielding a rugby ball. You're not quite sure what direction it was going to go in, but you knew it was going to spin somewhere.
Smith back round the wicket here to Mandana, whose slog sweeps behind square, and that's a good bit of fielding there from Sarah Glenn, prevents the single.
And it's going to be interesting. I mean, you set the tone in these first few overs with your fielding, and there's been some fantastic stops just there from Glenn, from Bouchier, and it's the one way to bring the pressure back on.
And she comes again, fires one in, it's short, and it's pulled away backward of square on the leg side. Another boundary for Smriti Mandana. Well, they're attacking everything here, the Indians. It's good to see. It's not the easiest wicket to get yourself in on as well. We've seen early swing, we've seen the ball not coming onto the bat, but England have just been ever so slightly off it with their line and lengths, and the Indians taking full advantage.
Yeah, it was a poor delivery from Bryony Smith. She's just drying the ball now with a cloth she's been handed by Eccleston.
30 without loss then. India in the fourth. This time she's wrapped on the pads. Mandana, big shout for LBW. looked to be angling towards the leg stump. Was it going down? Umpire says not out. Are they going to go upstairs for the review? 8 seconds on the DRS timer. It's ticking away. Amy Jones in conversation with Bryony Smith, and they're going upstairs with 1 second left on the clock. Let's have a look.
It was big pressure. It's Amy Jones's first appeal or review as the England captain. The only concern, as I'd agree with you, maybe going down the leg side, and also the pace Smith is bowling and the bounce she gets from this wicket. Whether the ball would have just stuck in the pitch a bit more, we'll have to see.
It just looked as though she needed that ball to straighten a touch. It was angled down towards the leg side. I mean, we're slightly off straight here, so a bit difficult for us to tell in real time, and we're behind the batter as well from this end, so we're just waiting for the replay to come up on the screen. The England players all in a huddle. Shafali and Smriti Mandhana together as well, mid-pitch. Let's have a look at the first replay then. Pitch is on off and heading way down the leg side, it looks, to the naked eye. Didn't look to be straightening. It's about knee roll, so the height obviously not an issue, you wouldn't have thought, but is there any edge on it? Let's have a look at that first. Ultra Edge is saying no, there's a flat line, and it doesn't look as though there's much going for this delivery. They'll have a look at ball tracking, of course, but the England players already heading back to their fielding positions after seeing that initial replay. So it looks to be a bit of a howler, that decision to go upstairs, and hits her almost completely out of the line of the leg stump. The impact umpires call wickets missing comfortably down the leg side. Would have struggled to hit a fourth stump that.
Well, that was a very Stuart Broad appeal, wasn't it, from the England team. Cannot have been missing by more. I feel sorry for Jones. She was put on the spot there, sent it upstairs with 1 second to go, but the poor decision from England early on just shows the pressure they're under.
Smith into Mandhana again, who's again wrapped on the pad. This looks a little bit straighter, and she's given. Oh, there was a long wait. And India have immediately gone upstairs. Smriti Mandhana making the sign. Did she get some bat on this? It was quite an immediate review.
Well, here we go
sometimes
again.
with those, the batter will be confident that they've got some glove or some bat on this. Well, she was down, she was crouching down, looking to slog sweep that away towards mid-wicket. Didn't make the contact, and it was fired in, that one from Bryony Smith. Did look a lot straighter to the naked eye. Let's have a look at the replay. Pitch is outside off. Hits sort of almost in the lower stomach there. Just in line with the off stump as well, it looks like. Was given out, remember, on the field, so impact and wickets hitting or clipping doesn't matter. If it is an umpire's call, it will stay with the on-field decision. So was there any bat or glove on this? Let's have a look at another angle. It doesn't look as though there was. In fact, it's hit her at the top of the thigh, that one.
Yeah, that one's going to hurt, and actually she trips backwards on the ball and has to simultaneously hit the ball away from the stumps and try not to fall back on the stumps.
This looks pretty out. The impact in line with the off stump, just on the initial replay. We're looking at Ultra Edge now. There's a flat line, so no bat or glove involved. And we await ball tracking, which should confirm Smriti Mandhana is on her way back. So impact umpire's call in line with the off stump, and wickets hitting middle and off, and Bryony Smith has the breakthrough.
Well,
and it's a big one as well. Smriti Mandhana gone for 23 in just 20 deliveries. Final ball of the fourth over. England have got their big wicket, 30 for 1.
and the gamble pays off for introducing the part-time spinner within the power play. It's one of those ones where you go, well, they could be sent to town or they could just get that wicket, because the Indian openers were always going to attack her here, and it was just that variation in pace, the shorter, flatter one, which was that first decision England sent upstairs, and then Bryony Smith following it up with the fuller delivery. And it was a long time for the umpire to make that decision in the end, and it was useful in the end that it wasn't on-field decision of out, of course, because it was umpire's call in terms of the line it hit. And just seen a fun shot of Shafali Verma from the non-striker's end. The moment the ball struck Smriti Mandhana, she just closed her eyes and went, which is not, I mean,
firstly because
sign.
it looked out, but also it's got to be pretty painful.
It did look incredibly painful. So not only are you being sent off the pitch, but you're going to have a nice bruise in the morning.
Absolutely right. A little bit of a shuffle in the batting order that we've got down here, and it looks as though Hemlata is out to replace Smriti Mandhana there. Should be at the non-striker's end. Start of a new over here, of course. It's going to be Freya Kemp replacing Lauren Bell from this media centre end. And she comes, Kemp, left arm over into Shefali, who just knocks it into the leg side, out towards deep square leg. They jog through for a single. Perhaps a bit more intensity in that single, and they could have been pushing for two there. It was a big, wide open gap on the leg side.
I think that's one of the problems this Indian team still has, is they're running between the wickets. You usually see it improve in the stage where traditionally a Harmanpreet Kaur and a Jemima Rodriguez have come into the crease together. They're often seen pushing those twos, but Shefali Verma hasn't quite picked up, or that attitude hasn't quite rubbed off on her yet. She's quite leisurely between the wickets.
Hemlata in her 8th T20 international averages 5.2 in her short career so far. In comes Kemp to her, and this is playing a miss outside the off stump, just a bit of shape away from the right-hander, looking to defend that one. She will be nervous, obviously hasn't kicked on at international level, Hemlata, but lots of potential there, and they obviously see something in her, pushing her up the order to number 3 today.
They've almost done the Alice Capsey role for her and said, if a wicket falls in the power play, this is all on you, you can shine out there.
Kemp in once more, very full, and it's clipped away straight to mid-wicket. It was a better looking shot, but straight to the fielder, Bryony Smith, in there, and there is no run. 31 for 1 then, India, midway through the 5th over here on 5 Sports Extra. Nikesh Regani alongside Melissa Story, Kevin Howells and Deep Dasgupta, part of our commentary team here today as well. First international T20 between England and India. In comes Freya Kemp, and Hemlata pulls away this time into the gap there, just behind square on the leg side. Gets off the mark with a single. 32 for 1. And it almost seems as though the atmosphere was just picking up there, wasn't it, with Smriti Mandhana smashing those boundaries early on. We heard some chanting from the Indian supporters, which is great to see that there are so many in here today among the large England contingent. Well, there they go again in the background, actually, so it hasn't gone that quiet with that dismissal. In comes Kemp once more, this time to Verma, who just defends to backward point, straight to the fielder, and there is no run. Do they have a radio out there? Are they listening to us on 5 Sports Extra? Well, hopefully they are.
I'd love to think they are, but it's fantastic having the Indian fans, and I'd like to think at all the venues these T20s and ODIs are hosted at, there's going to be a big contingent, because they just bring the almost atmosphere up in the ground with the chanting and the drums and the singing.
Kemp, final ball of the over, is swatted straight back over her head. Couple of bounces. Shefali Verma doesn't move from her crease. That was emphatic. It wasn't quite off the middle of the bat, but it was highly effective there from Shefali. So 5 overs gone. India move on to 36 for 1. A few more thoughts from you, Melissa, on that cross-batted slap over the head of Freya Kemp, and then Kevin Howells will take over from me.
Well, it was a almost disrespectful shot from Shefali Verma there, just flat batting it down the ground. And now that Smriti Mandhana's wicket has fallen, there's a lot more responsibility on her shoulders. She's 11 off 7. Still a young player herself, but we're looking to capitalise on this inexperienced England team, because in this lineup there's just 3 players who have more than 50 caps. So, and those are Danny Wyatt, Amy Jones and Sophie Eccleston. So it's a relatively new team for England, whilst India, they've just got a few more games behind their belt, and Shefali Verma herself, she's still young, but she's seen it all. She'll be up for this, and she'll know that there's a few runs in this pitch tonight, especially with just 1 over left in this power play to make the most of it.
Yes, age in itself doesn't tell you just how experienced some players are. Alice Capsey, for example, for England. Anyway, start of this next over, worked away through square on the onside, and a scamper through for 1. And India women move now up to 37 for 1. We're still in the power play, of course, final over the power play. For those that have been following the 100 for a few weeks, you have to readjust your mind again, don't you?
No, the first time I said over after the month of August, I almost felt like popping open a bottle. I felt just so happy. It was such a relief.
But It is T20, and it is the start of a very important series here between England and India. And down the leg side, Bales are whipped off. Good work. Verma sitting there still on 11, having made that big breakthrough. Mandana gone for 23. England know they need to keep the pressure on here. Power play obviously does entice a batting side to be positive and attacking, but that's certainly what India have been so far. 37 runs on the board, just the one wicket having fallen. Next ball bowled and into the offside square for no run. This is Davis bowling from the far end. I mean, it's been a dark, gloomy day weather-wise, and there was a bit of concern at one point during the afternoon because the rain was really heavy coming in off the sea, the North Sea away on our right hand side and sweeping across, and thankfully all it led to was a delayed start at 7:30. So Davis again bowls, right arm, a little bit of width in the air and dropped. Oh dear, out there at extra cover. That's a catch that should have been taken by Dunkley. She's put it down. Talking about the positive and attacking nature of India at the start of this innings. They needed to make the breakthroughs, and I'm afraid just didn't get in the right position. Got the hands there, but just didn't look right, didn't look comfortable.
No, and it's such a shame for Freya Davis. It was the back of the hand slower ball. It was correctly set up, but just no execution in the field.
Next ball down the leg side. Good take, but it's a wide all the same. But Jones diving, stopping it from racing away. And there a reminder, of course, the black armband being worn by all the players out there tonight. It is a night where you can hear, there is an anticipation amongst a very young-looking crowd here tonight for the cricket. But everything we saw at the start of the match and ahead of the game, full of respect for the occasion, as this one is played again for a single on the onside.
Hemlata is just looking to rotate the strike, get Shafali Verma back on, who is more looking to attack these England bowlers. Davis hasn't looked herself yet. She hasn't looked comfortable out there in the middle, and Amy Jones has done two fantastic bits of work, keeping stood up to the stumps down the leg side. Just feels like giving her the captaincy, and she hasn't captained before. It's just elevated her to this new level of determination behind the stumps.
And Davis in again, driven straight back, straight past her. It's gone straight and into the sawdust. We'll need plenty of sawdust tonight, but that isn't what it's supposed to be there for, of course.
An extra
Mind you, I was going to say,
Through 6 overs, India 41.
give that sawdust a shirt number. 41 for 1 after 6 overs, and the power play has been concluded. This is the start, of course, of this series and this tour of India's women against England's women. England and India next in action on Tuesday for the second T20 International in Derby. You can watch this one live on BBC television from 5:30 in the evening on BBC Two, with coverage also on BBC Radio and online. So we have 3 T20 internationals and then 3 ODIs all coming up.
ODI being played at Lord's on the 24th of September, which is also going to be followed by the Rachel Hayhoe Flint final at Lord's the following day. So a massive weekend of women's cricket in London then to round off the season in the women's side of things.
It's a busy time, but one of the reasons it's a busy time is we've got to get it all in before Christmas, if we can. Verma on 13. Sarah Glenn bowls. Worked away onto the onside, right arm throw. That would have been close or not, I'm not so sure. Yeah.
And I think Shafali Verma there had just given up. She started running, but looked as if she was running in sand, never really building up momentum to the non-striker's end. Sarah Glenn fielding off her own bowling. If she'd hit,
by
Verma
miles.
wasn't even in the picture.
By miles. She had time. Just, I mean, she did well to get across quickly, but actually she had a little bit more time than maybe she realised to have lined up the target there. But she's also hurt her foot. So hopefully she's going to be able to jump that off and sort of somehow not feel the pain anymore. This is in the air though, and this straight away is going to be a 4. Having very nearly seen a run out. Next delivery, it's a boundary.
Oh, it's
and
always
the score to
case.
46 for 1.
Just lining her up there, a foolish delivery, and that's what Sarah Glenn will do. She'll float the ball up over the eye line of the batters, and Hamlata there just getting in on the boundary action too.
I mean, it's obviously quite a damp, wet outfield. I mean, it's almost plugged, but kept on going towards the rope. Another single this time on the onside.
Well, it was something I was going to note. There was a lot of discussion during the 100 about the size of the women's boundaries and whether it limited the games to just a 4 or 1 kind of affair. But here today, there's a really quite significant square boundary, and I think it's good as well. The players are still finding those 4s, but there's plenty of opportunity for 2s as well.
This is in the air, out towards a fielder, and caught! Good catch. That time getting into position, getting the hands just right from Bryony Smith. Good fielding. And there is the second wicket. A little bit later than it should have been, but it's there at 47 for 2 in the 7th over.
And you can always feel the sting of Bryony Smith's hands there, as it was flat, it was hit hard, but she never lost sight of it. And compared to that drop catch at extra cover by Sophia Dunkley a few overs before, this one, she just got into a good position, didn't get distracted by the thought of the ball being in the floodlights or anything. It was too flat for that. And a massive wicket for India. Shefali Verma, she's frustrated with herself here, 14 off 13. Again, another innings of her where she hasn't quite got going. It's looked a bit sticky, but it's a reoccurring trend for India as well. We saw across the Commonwealth Games, they've got off to an absolute flyer, 47 runs. If we're looking just at the runs, they're going along at 7 runs and over, which I think they'll be happy with. But they do have a trait of just slipping away and letting that run rate drop and drop, especially in these middle overs. And England will look to use Eccleston, they'll look to use Sarah Glenn, Alice Capsey, Bryony Smith, all these spinners to take the pace off the ball, just make the Indian batters tap the ball around, especially now that captain Harmanpreet Kaur has come into the middle, and she is a bit of a nerdler. She's a manipulator of the field, which
may be what is needed, but they do need to keep the board moving along. Let's see if they can do that. So Kaur just takes a guard as the England supporters just settle down a little following the relief of taking that catch. I think they always get a little bit nervous, supporters, when they see one catch go down. Next one was taken, next ball is in, goes back and plays behind square on the offside, and there will be no run. The ball makes its way back around again. They'll try, if possible, to make sure that ball doesn't hit the ground more than it needs to, because that cloth has to come out and dry it up. She's obviously quite happy with it. That wasn't a great big dry and a rinse, was it? Just a quick one, driven along the ground. That's going to race away for 4 runs. A lovely looking shot actually from Kaur. It's a boundary. It steers India above the 50 mark. 51 for 2 after 7 overs. Verma out in that over for 14 off 13 deliveries. With the 2 wickets down, it's not a major disaster from India's point of view, but still big wickets have been lost. And an interesting phase of this T20 game is this middle part, if you like. How do you play it as the batting side? You're batting first, you don't know how big you've got to go, you're not too sure. I mean, it is tricky, and it's going to be the same for both teams with the wet conditions, the damp conditions. Deepdas Gupta is alongside. I think the first thing I'd like to ask you is your overall thoughts of the first 7 overs here, and lovely to have you back with us, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Sophie Eccleston about to come on and bowl, so with a spin, you've got to make your comments short and sharp.
Yeah,
but I'm sure you will.
Thank you very much, and it's obviously a pleasure to be back. But yeah, I mean, it's been good.
And she's in, bowls, and first is a dot ball.
But I was expecting the debutant Navgire, who's predominantly a top order batter, to come at number 3 and not Hemleth, as good as she is. But you mentioned about that momentum, and especially in the middle overs. She's the one, Navgire.
Was she a little unhappy there? Did that cloth we were talking about, that come out of her back pocket? Anyway, it's another dot ball. On that occasion, no problems with the cloth. I think she's passed it to a teammate. It can be a problem. Some batters do not like any distractions. Emalatha, LBW appeal, looks to the umpire, not out. She took her time there, did the umpire, before eventually saying, you know, I'm not going to raise my finger here. Jasmine Naheem, timer is on. They're having a think about it, but I don't think they're going to go for it.
Yeah, I think that's a good call, because I thought that was drifting down the leg side. And that's the thing with Sophie Eccleston. I mean, as it is, she's got a very short run up and she bowls quick. Does not give any time to the batter.
Yes, just 2 or 3 yards and then she's in and pushed back.
Yeah, I mean, as a batter, at times you can actually ask her to stop, because what she does, Eccleston, is she kind of hurries the batter and takes the batter out of their rhythm.
She's bowled from the far end, and again this is a little uppage in the air, but it's going to be safe enough. They wait to see, is there a chance for a run? There's every chance. They could have really messed that up, the batters, because there was a bit of a fumble, then they found themselves, and then there was another fumble. But they did right to stay where they were, really, this pair, and the score remains at 51 for 2.
Yeah,
one ball left to this over, you say, flying through Eccleston here. On for a maiden at the moment. Yeah. She's not what India would have liked. Looking to get some bat on this, but again not enough to get it away. So what a good start that is. Terrific start for Sophie Eccleston. And after it all, the 8th over, India still stuck at 51 for 2.
And that's the reason I mentioned about Navgire, who's a power hitter. Get her up at number 3, get that momentum going. Also the fact that India's batting depth is massive. I mean, you've got batting till number 10. So there's no reason to be conservative in terms of your approach, and it seems that's what India's done so far. They've been a little conservative ever since the loss of Mandana's wicket.
Look at that wide playing area. Applause there for Eccleston. She makes her way back down just inside this boundary on our right hand side. There's one stand which of course is not open tonight. That's why there's nobody sitting in that tonight. Otherwise a decent number in tonight. Down the leg side here, the start of this 9th over, giving umpire Paul Pollard a little warming up, I reckon. Just to raise the arms. It's Glenn doing the bowling, so she'll try again to get legitimately this over underway, and it's sort of slapped down the ground. It'll just be for 1, and the score up to 53 for 2 now in the 9th.
Yeah, it's not an easy pitch to bat on, to be honest. Obviously so much of rain and all, it's stopping just a bit, a little extra moisture in the pitch. So you've got to be a little careful as a batter, and especially when you're out there and you've got to get used to the pace and the bounce. You'll be better off playing more off the back foot.
And it's Glenn, bowls again, and leans back, and very lucky there in some ways, but gets it away equally for 2 runs. I mean, you don't get a bat on that, you're in trouble. But she did get something on it and actually finds a gap and gets 2 runs for India, 55 for 2.
Yeah, Hemleth would be a little bit of a pressure, especially after the maiden last over that she played of Eccleston. That was extremely close. That was too full, too close to the off stump to play that shot, which she played it really late, and thank God she got some bat on that.
She moves to 10 of 14. And leaning back. Oh, now LBW appeal. Finger raised on that one. So trying here to be proactive, trying to get the ball away and creating problems. DRS timer is on. They're going to have a bit of a chat about it. They can't be too long. I hope they know they can't be too long, or if they already called it. Well, there's no movement out there. I think they may have called this. Or is she on her way?
I think she's on her way, and this is extremely good bowling from Sarah Glenn, because she did realise that Hemleth was trying to play off the back foot. It was a lot flatter, quicker in the air, skidded through as well. and she was in no place, Hemlata, to play that shot, playing across to a very full and a quick delivery. She paid the price with a wicket. She's got to go 10 off 15 deliveries.
Yes, it's starting to wobble here a little bit for India in this 9th over. And you talk about how difficult it might be, and of course they are having to they're setting the bar, they're setting the target here. What would your advice be? What would your approach be, bearing in mind the circumstances on the conditions here tonight?
You know, if you look at this Indian side, they've got quite a few. It's a real good combination of seniors like Harman and Smriti, Deepti Sharma, and some power hitters like Richa Sharma, the new batter in right now, Navgire, Shefali. I think they could actually balance it really well, with one end kind of holding it together, one of them playing the sheet anchor role. It seems to be Harman doing that job as of now, and then the other batters can rotate around her, playing a little more freely, taking maybe a few more chances, because like I said, India bat very, very deep.
Richa Ghosh is the new batter, plays square for no run. Well, all the momentum at the moment, all the pressure is upon India, and England have got something going here for them, and they know they've got something going for them at the moment, even if it does require the ball to be dried all the time. A little bit extra work for the bowler, but won't mind if it results in wickets being taken. That one's been driven out into the offside for one. And as you say, we may not be here to see big boundaries being scored. It may be the finding the gaps. We've already seen it's a wide ground. There are spaces and gaps to be found out there. 56 for 3, one ball left to the 9th. Kaur is back on strike. She's sitting on 5 not out from 3 balls at the moment, and Glenn is looking for a 3rd wicket. 2 for 15 currently her figures. Next ball, that again is full, waits for it, neatly actually drives it along the ground for 1, so she'll keep the strike as well. She's moved to 6, and India at 57 for 3. Applause again for another good over from Sarah Glenn. 2 for 16 from 2 overs, and a little bit of talking to be done here by the Indian batters.
Yeah, I think India's missed a trick here. They could have actually got someone like Deepti Sharma, a left-hander, in, with both the spinners operating. We will see a lot of spin overs in this game, and a left-hand, right-hand combination wouldn't have been that bad an idea. So I think, and someone like Deepti, who does take a little bit of time to get herself going, I think that maybe they should have thought about it and maybe should have got her on right now. Deepti Sharma and Harman, both very, very experienced, and you need experience.
You also need hand warmers.
It is cold out there. It's very cold out there.
2 things: experience and hand warmers. 3 things, because you mustn't forget the towel as well to dry the ball.
Absolutely.
There's an awful lot to potentially forget. But at the moment, it's India who have to refocus here. And we've got Kemp coming on to bowl for England. Freya Kemp, she'll be bowling her 2nd over. First went for 6. The look of frustration, as if saying, I'm ready, why aren't you? Now Kaur is ready, down the leg side, just helped on its way. That's going to be 4 runs. I say racing along, it sort of bobbles along really, but once it's past the fielder there, if you've got enough on it, it should always get to the rope, and it does. Takes India to 61 for 3 in the 10th over. So Kemp will be disappointed with that, but goes onto it really quickly. Played it really well, because that's really tight to her body, to get enough bat on that to swing it around, and as I say, put enough on it to get to the rope. Next delivery, driven in the offside. There won't be a run here, that's straight to mid-off.
Yeah, the last one, the boundary that you mentioned, I think all she did was actually deflect, use the pace, realizing that the fine leg fielder was inside the circle. All she had to do was get it fine. She did really well, Harman. But again, playing a left arm seamer, that's not very common, whether it's women's cricket or men's cricket, so especially for India.
It is left arm in, bowls driven again, same area, now there to mid-off.
And that's where I still think they could have thought of getting Deepti Sharma, left-hander in there, left arm seam, change of angle for the bowlers, and obviously leg spin and left arm spin bowling. So there's quite a few overs of these 3 bowlers, and could have been a different challenge for them.
Kaur is on 10, a slower ball, I think, maybe gets a bottom edge on it and will run through for one. Good run from Ghosh, actually, seeing the opportunity there, and that is probably going to be a very important part of the construction of a total here, to be looking for those sort of opportunities. It may only result in one run, but those sort of incidents could prove decisive. India 62 for 3, 2 balls left of the 10th over. She's going to come around the wicket here now, she to Ghosh.
No, she's actually changed her mind now.
She has, yeah. You're allowed to do that. You can change your mind as long as you tell everybody. Left arm over the wicket still. It's the right hand Ghosh. That's driven nicely. Square on the offside. Is it going to get the better of the fielder? No, it isn't. Very fine stop out there.
Dunkley.
Lovely work from Dunkley.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Richa Ghosh approaches this innings, because as of now India is going just over run a ball. They would want to get some kind of momentum going, and that's where I think Richa Ghosh has to play a natural game, and superb. Obviously third umpire would have a look at it, but a super piece of fielding.
It was. I mean, she timed it just brilliantly, and also got a good strong left hand on that, didn't she, to pull it back. You do see them sometimes when just reaching, not quite getting it, and parrying it over the rope, which is ultra frustrating. But she got real good strong left hand on that, pushed it back in. I'm not saying she was then in total control of the dive and the skid afterwards, but it's okay. Although the third umpire is wanting, and that's Sue Redfern, is wanting to have a good long look at this, wanting to make sure it's right. The trouble is that if you see too many angles, you start to question yourself, don't you?
Yeah, but I'm convinced that that's not a boundary. She's done exceedingly well.
64 for 3. 1 ball left of the 10th over. We're almost halfway through. Ghosh is on 3. Worked away. Onside. 1. Just the one to finish off. So 10 overs gone. 65 for 3. Ghosh on 4. Caught on 11. And Kemp now has gone for 14 runs from her 2 overs. Nikesh Raghani will come in and replace me after a word or two from you. But again, maybe just expand on what you do if you're out there as a batter to try and put this right. You know, three, your 3 top order, 3 big wickets already gone.
To be honest, I won't be too concerned with those 3 wickets, because yes, I mean, ideally speaking, you would want Smriti or Shefali to be there, because they are such destructive batters. But then there is enough batting. If you look at that batting order, Radha Yadav can bat, she can tonk the ball. She's slated to come at number 10, so there's enough batting. I don't think India should be worried about that. It's just that how to get that momentum back now that it's going to be Eccleston bowling her second. Nikesh.
Eccleston is in, and she's wrapped on the pads immediately. Big shout for LBW. It's Ghosh, the batter on strike, not out given. DRS timer swings back into action, and it looks as though Amy Jones has sent Eccleston back on her way. They're not going to go upstairs. Fired in though once again.
The pitch like this, I mean, it's kind of tailor-made for someone like Sophie Eccleston, because of the pace that she bowls, the trajectory. It is a little dodgy, this pitch, a little too paced.
Eccleston in once more, and this time onto the front foot, defending from Ghosh. A little bit tentative though, just not quite sure whether to go back or to come onto the front foot. Gets away with that one though. Dot ball.
Yeah, just need to rotate the strike. If nothing else, look for a single.
Eccleston again fires one in. This time it's late cut beautifully down towards deep third. That's going to race away for 4 as well. Much better shot that from Richa Ghosh, just leaning back and using the pace that was on that delivery from Eccleston.
Yeah, that's smart batting. That's good. Just a little bit of room outside off stump, even though she was kind of committed onto that front foot, but then she kind of managed to get that body weight back onto her back foot, and then playing it really fine. And like you said, using the pace of Sophie Eccleston was really quick if you think about it.
69 for 3 then, India in the 11th over. Still no fielders back at deep third or fine leg, and this is swept towards fine leg. Not the best of contact on it, so they'll only get back for a couple, won't quite race away towards the boundary. But again, clever batting that from Richa Ghosh, just realising where the fielders are and trying to use the pace.
Exactly, because she's so quick. I mean, rather than fighting that, you might as well use it. and that's what Richa's done last couple of deliveries, not really trying to muscle and play those big shots she's known for. Now obviously playing those two square of the wicket shots, this change in the field, extra fielder on the offside, more fielders kind of squarish off the wicket now.
Yep, short third comes in as well as a backward point. This is fired in down the leg side this time. Low full toss, misses everything and is signalled wide. So this change of ends not quite going the way of Sophie Eccleston at the moment after that beautiful first over, which was a maiden. India now 72 for 3. A couple of balls remaining in the 11th. Eccleston delivers once more outside off, and it's hammered away, and she's missed out there. Richa Ghosh straight to the fielder at backward point. There is a sweeper out of deep cover who may have cut that off had it found the gap, but she'll be kicking herself at that one.
Yeah, and she is actually right now quite disappointed, because I think she was looking for that gap between short third and point. Would have beaten the fielder in the deep as well then. Plays it straight.
Sophie Eccleston just drying the ball once again. And she comes, final ball of the over. It's fallen, it's slog swept. What a shot that is! Into the stands. Well, it was just plant the foot down and hammer it over into that vacant area. There was a fielder out there at deep mid-wicket. She could only watch it sail over her head. And it's not the smallest boundary out there towards the leg side either. That was some shot.
I tell you what, I've seen her for a while now, Richa Ghosh. If she can get those shots out of her locker, she's going to score quite a few. Even though this can be a tricky pitch and all that, but if she gets it in her zone, in her area, Richa Ghosh, geez, the first time I saw her, she was 12, and children was like, Deep, you got to see her. She keeps as well, right? So you got to see her bat. She actually bowls as well a bit, and she was only 12 and she was batting in the nets, in the seniors women's nets. And I looked at her, I was like, wow, and she was only 12 then. And she's 17, 18.
She's only 17 now. So.
Yeah, she's brilliant. But I'm glad that she's taking that role of the aggressor now, because that's what India needs.
Right, Freya Davis back into the attack. Harmanpreet Kaur immediately scoops this down towards fine leg, and that's going to trickle away for 4, is it? Yes, it is. Beats the chase, two fielders converging on it, no chance of stopping it, and the runs all of a sudden starting to flow once more for India. 82 for 3 in the 12th.
Yeah, I mean, the last over was huge. We're talking about Sophie Eccleston, number 1 bowler in world cricket, going for plenty. That must have given a lot of confidence to not just Harman and the team, but obviously Richa, and this time it's Harman. Again, deft touch, plays it really fine. Oh, she's so good. I mean, she's got everything, isn't she? Power, big shots, and deft touches. And obviously last couple of years, and she's been in brilliant form. Harman, I mean, there was a patch for a year and a half in between where she was trying to find the right tempo, but I think she's found it, and also I think the captaincy bid, getting the best out of her.
Davis into her once again. This time it's swept fine. There is a fielder down there at fine leg, so just the single this time. I mean that 171, obviously everyone remembers that, the 2017 World Cup, the semi-final against Australia, but people kind of expected her to do that time in, time out, not just the amount of runs, but the way she did it, and the style of batting. And that's not necessarily, I mean, she has got the power, but that's not all she's got, and maybe that may have weighed on her shoulders during that period. As Davis comes in once more, this time to Ghosh, who plays and misses outside off. Good delivery, dot ball.
Nikesh, also what happened was, because I think she was told that you've got all the shots in the world, you've got to give yourself some time, so go out there, bat for 10-15 deliveries, don't worry about scoring runs. And then what happened was, she was actually doing that. She wasn't even taking singles the first 10-15 deliveries. She was taking her time, what she was told to do, but then she was putting pressure on herself, and then she would get out playing a rash shot. But now, if you see it, she's just batting freely. It's just brilliant the last year and a half, Harman.
Davis in again, slightly slower delivery. It's slog swept straight into the hands of Long On, and it's taken. Bryony Smith with the catch down there. Didn't have too far to move, but never easy in the night sky with the floodlights on as well. And another breakthrough just as the runs were starting to flow once again for India. England have their breakthrough. It's Freya Davis with it, and it's Richa Ghosh back in the pavilion.
Yeah, the slow delivery back of the hand. Obviously, Richa didn't see that. The end of the bat, obviously, for that didn't get the distance. But that's all right. I don't think she should feel bad about it, because she had a very specific role, it seems, and she's done a bit. 16 of 12, got that momentum going for her team, and it's important that whoever comes in, and it's Navgire, it seems, who's come out to bat to continue with that momentum. And I tell you what, she's on debut. So exciting. I'm just looking forward to her batting.
There's a lot of hype, isn't there? There's a lot of hype. Even on this, I present a podcast on Indian cricket every week, and my co-host, who's based out there in India, from West Bengal as well, actually, journalist for Wisden, she was raving about this young girl coming into the side. Tell us more.
Okay, so
What's her
she's
style?
from Maharashtra, but obviously for some reason she couldn't get through to that Maharashtra side, so she had to go to Nagaland, where she kind of scored at an average of, I don't know, 70, 80, maybe even 100 or something, 500 plus runs, Kiran Prabhu Navgire, and then she was picked for this challenges thing, which is going to turn into the women's IPL, and that's where I saw her first, and she got fastest 50 in that tournament.
Davis into Kaur this time, who was on strike as the batter's cross, knocks it out towards deep square leg, and a very ambled single there, you could say. They maybe should have been pushing for two. Big wide open gap on the leg side, lots of work for the fielders there to do, running in off the boundary, but it's going to be Kiran Navgire on strike for the first time. Likes to get on with it, does she?
Oh yeah, she does. But I'm not too sure whether this is the right position for her, because she likes batting against the quicker bowlers, ball being new, the ball coming onto the bat. Obviously the surface is not going to help her and her style of batting.
Davis delivers, and Navgire just defends out to extra cover. First ball in international cricket, safely negotiated, as is the over. 12 overs gone. India 84 for 4, so going along at sevens at the moment, which isn't too bad on this pitch, given the conditions out there as well. Some good bowling from England, of course, but they were looking to kick on. Plenty of batting today in this India side, isn't there, which hasn't always been the case, and it obviously helps with Richa Ghosh coming in, and you haven't got Dania Bhatia, the keeper, sort of hidden down there at number 10 or 11 in the lineup, or maybe number 9 sometimes, so you've got that extra depth. I mean, Dipti Sharma, we've still not seen her, Sneha Rana, all these girls can bat down the order, can't they?
Yeah, even Radha Yadav, she's very handy with the bat. But it'll be interesting to see how Navgire handles the spinners.
Sarah Glenn is in to Kaur, who sweeps fine. It's a bit of a chase on here, down towards the fine leg boundary, which will allow Harmanpreet Kaur to get back for a couple of runs. Good placement.
Yeah, a couple of runs, so she's back on strike. I just want to see Navgire against the spinners, because obviously she's more comfortable playing the quicker bowlers, let me put it this way.
Glenn drying the ball once more. Lots of moisture out there, given all the rain this afternoon. Maybe a touch of dew as well. And she comes, delivers slightly short outside the off stump, but just skids on and beats the outside edge of Harmanpreet Kaur, who is back looking to punch that off the back foot.
Yeah, just make sure both these batters, they've got to make sure they don't lose that momentum.
This one's flighted up, and she took the invitation but couldn't quite get hold of that one. Harmanpreet Kaur just skews it in the end down towards long on, walks through for a single. And here we go, Kiran Navgire up against the spinner.
Yeah, Sophie Eccleston's played against her, so she would have seen her before. She would have given her inputs to everyone in terms of what she thinks of Navgire and where to bowl to her.
Yeah, the 3-team women's T20 challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Which, fingers crossed, we will get that full-blown IPL, which has been promised for next year. And she comes to Navgire slightly short, and it's cut away out towards deep cover, so she's off the mark with a single. 89 for 4 India, 88 for 4 rather, in the 13th over here on 5 Sports Extra, the first women's T20 international of this series between England and India. Of course, the sides played each other in this format last year. on these shores as Corey's bold, is she? She's down the track, looking to heave that one through the offside, and it just skidded on. And it's quite harsh, the lack of bounce did for her in the end. It took a while for her to drag herself away from the crease there. She just couldn't believe what that ball did. It just scooted on, and she's got to go for 20. That is a big breakthrough for Sarah Glenn and for England, and wow,
almost
the term P-roller springs to mind.
Almost a piece of the off stump. But you know what, you've got to also give credit to Sarah Glenn, because I think she saw Harman Kaur stepping out a little too early, dragged it short and flatter, had to manage, but obviously that lack of bounce did it for Harmanpreet Kaur, who did a decent knock, to be fair, 20 of 15 from the Indian captain. Deepti Sharma, the new batter in. I guess this is not a bad idea if you think about it. You've got these senior players, people who can anchor an innings at one end, and then you have the hitters, so to say, Richa Sharma, Hemlata. I don't know which bracket would she fall into, but yeah, now Navgire. Yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting plan as far as India is concerned with their batting lineup.
Yep, and we have now got the left and right hand combination as well at the crease with Deepti Sharma just taking her guard. Sarah Glenn will immediately come around the wicket here to the left-hander. So India in a spot of bother now, 88 for 5. And she comes Glenn, it's full, it's whipped away out towards deep square leg. Single to get off the mark. And end of the over, 13 overs gone, 89 for 5. That run rate dropping to just below 7. And, lots of capable batters, Deep, but psychologically half the side out.
True.
Difficult conditions here for India to be batting in against a rampant England bowling attack since the spinners have come on in particular. There was that one expensive over, of course, from Sophie Eccleston being smashed for the 6 and the 4, but apart from that, they've been very difficult to get away to the boundary. And another one here in Bryony Smith coming back into the attack.
Yeah, and I'm sure the Indian batters who've been out there and played, and they would know how difficult this pitch could be, even for the English batters in the second innings. So they've got to be very, very careful in terms of setting a target for themselves. With 7 overs more to go, you've got enough batting, but they need to not get into that mindset thinking that there's enough batting to come behind us, or after us rather. So
in comes Smith to Sharma, who just drives gently to the fielder there at extra cover. Bouchier cleans it up, dot ball. Deepti Sharma, she won't be hurried, will she? Likes to take her time, get set, just knock it around. In comes Smith again, it's flighted, it's flicked away out towards deep square. She runs the first hard, but there was no support from the other end. Kiran Navgire just settling for the single, just jogging through for that single, and Deepti Sharma just giving her the stare from the other end. That's what we want to see, more intensity. We want to see these, pushing for 2s at least. There's been a few occasions this evening where that's not been done.
True, especially someone like Navgire. I mean, I guess she believes in boundaries more than singles. So I guess, and yeah, I mean, when you're batting with someone like Navgire, I guess all you have to do is just get that single and get off strike and get her there.
This is Navgire just working it away down towards deep mid-wicket. Another single taken, 91 for 5. Midway through the 14th over. England, if you are just joining us, winning the toss, deciding to have a bowl first. Very sombre start, sombre atmosphere, of course, following the death of Queen Elizabeth II. Players wearing black armbands out there as Deepti Sharma inside edges onto a pad. The ball trickles away backward of point, no single taken.
I think she just has to be a little mindful of just taking those singles for the next couple of overs.
Smith in again, another one flighted up, and this time works it away just wide of long on. She runs the first hard again, and this time definitely wasn't 2-1. Navgire refusing the opportunity to get back down the non-striker's end, so 1 ball left for her against Bryony Smith. Smith, of course, with the early breakthrough of Smriti Mandhana. That 1 over she bowled in the power play, just as Mandhana was looking to completely let rip, and she is to Navgire who finds the gap. Just wide of long on once again, and again the second run refused as Dipti Sharma runs the first hard. So 14 overs gone. India 93 for 5 here after being asked to have a bat first. Deep Dasgupta will make way, and alongside me once again is Melissa Story. Melissa, all the big guns back in the hutch. India 93 for 5. They do bat deep. We've heard a lot about Kiran Navgire. Not seen too much yet, just the 4 deliveries, of course, but it kind of feels like India, despite the wickets, need to get going here because they're going at just over 6.5.
Yes, they do, and I was sharing Deep's frustration there that they didn't push for that 2. They haven't across this innings, and Lauren Bell back into the attack. She was expensive in her first 2 overs, 17 runs from them. Is this a chance to capitalise for the Indian batters? Potentially.
Right, the 2 debutants facing off. Bell is into Navgire, who hammers this down the ground, and is it going to reach Sophie Eccleston? No, it's not. Didn't time that at all. You could see what the intent was. It was just short of a length. He was looking for that rock back and pull it away through cow corner. Just skied it in the end and land safely. Single taken.
And Bell needs to make sure she's pushing this ball up there, bowling it nice and full, because her first over, where she bowled predominantly to Smriti Mandana, was really good because she got the ball swinging. Her second over, things dropped a bit shorter, and she's not the fastest of bowlers, so when she does drop short, she is easier to hit.
Bell round the wicket here to Dipti Sharma, who guides this beautifully down towards deep third, and that's going to race away for 4 as well. Just a deft touch, using the pace there of Lauren Bell, and all that experience coming to the 4. 98 for 5.
It's a good situation for Deepti to be in at, because she's played vast amounts of cricket, and normally a team may begin to panic when you're 5 wickets down, and you do tend to see a longer tail in the women's game, or at least strike rates reducing as the batters drop down. But as you mentioned, India bat deep here, but she is key. So if they can just find 1 boundary each over, even find 2 if possible, but when you can't find the boundary, if it's a good delivery, drop it and run, pick up those 1s and 2s and keep the scoreboard moving, keep rotating the strike.
Right, in comes Bell again to Dipti, who drives this time out towards deep cover. There is protection out there, Bouchier with the fielding, so just the single.
I've always wondered why Maya Bouchier gets away with wearing the blue arm sleeve. Are they tubey grips?
Tubey grips, arm sleeves, whatever you want to call them.
Whatever you want to call them, because they don't match any other part of England's kit. I find it deeply annoying.
Maybe they're the only one she's got.
Maybe
sponsors and all that kind of stuff. Maybe that's just all they've got to offer. In comes Bell once again, this time to Navgire, who drives down towards long on. I get what you mean though, but she's easily identifiable to us in the commentary box.
From a commentator's perspective, it is wonderful, but just, I'd like to see the red, but as you can hear from the Indian fans, the 100 up for India, which is a good landmark for them, will just give them that bit of confidence. And it feels at points like they're playing a home game here with the amount of noise behind them. I'd pretty much say that the crowd over there to our left are probably about 50-50 India-England fans.
In comes Bell once more to Dipti Sharma, who flicks away elegantly, only as far as the sweeper at deep mid-wicket, so another single taken. Well, they do travel well, the India supporters. Doesn't matter where you go in the world. I mean,
50-50 may be a bit generous, but maybe 90-10, but 10% really loud fans. So they're making up for it. It's almost an illusion out there. You go, wow, there's a raucous crowd, and I think there's probably about 50 of them creating all this noise, which is fantastic.
Obviously no music this evening, given the events. As Bell comes in, it's full, it's driven uppishly. Dunkley with the fielding on the edge of the circle there at extra cover, and it's a dot ball to finish off. 15 overs gone then, 101 for 5. So Navgire on to 5, Dipti Sharma on 9. A few more thoughts from you, Melissa. I mean, you can hear the atmosphere, can't you? Despite there's no doll drums, that's what I was referring to. They usually travel around with the drums, the Indian supporters, but obviously, given the circumstances, not tonight. But it's pretty decent atmosphere nonetheless. Your thoughts then on what India need to do in these final 5 overs, and then Kevin Howells will take over from me.
Well, I think India here need to try and maximise off these final 5 overs, get to that score around the 130 mark. I think would be a minimum on this pitch, because yes, the pitch is slow, but we've mentioned it's a large outfield here, and England are going to run, you suspect, a bit better than the Indian batters will in their innings.
Freya Kemp back into the action, and her first delivery of the next over is pushed back to the left hand side, and she quickly picks it up and makes her way back to her bowling position. So 101 for 5, that's the position. We're into the final 5 overs here of the India innings. Now Giri on 5, but it's Sharma facing on 9 at the moment, left-handed bat, and a slower ball played behind square on the onside, sliding stop, and 1 run. But those singles, we think, could prove really important. Try and run as many as you can, find those gaps. It's a tricky one to work out what exactly is going to be a good, unless they really do start to go big here. It's going to be really tricky to work out what a good score is going to be. Now Giri is on 5, facing, play that down into the ground, trying to create a bit of space, can't get it away.
India still have the likes of Pooja Vastrika, who has long levers. She can definitely find the boundary for them, but it's going to be difficult against Freya Kemp. She's got this over and 1 more to come. She really varies the pace of her bowling in the death. Difficult bowler to get away.
This is Kemp's 3rd over for the left armour. And the bails have been whipped off. When those bail lights light up, commentators and some in the crowd are like to think, what's happened there? Well, that's just a chance for the quick work of, she's kept well tonight, given half an opportunity to whip those bails off, but the foot was well and truly in the ground, as you can see, and not too much excitement on the face of the bowler either. Just a look of determination to say, right, maybe next time, because that now is 2 deliveries in this over, and she's really struggled. Now Giri, and that is pretty much a full toss down the leg side. Could be a chance for a run out to the non-striker's end. Turns around quickly in the end. Strikes her on the shoulder as that throw comes in. Sharma having to make her ground, but does so.
Quite poor cricket all round there. It was a juicy, admittedly dipping full toss from Freya Kemp with fine leg up in the ring. Navgiri would have been looking to get that ball away to the boundary with a sloppy running too.
Next ball, that's on the offside, and right arm, good strong right arm throw back in, but it is a single to finish off that 16th over. 103 for 5. Giri on 6 and Sharma on 10.
We're speaking about the importance of these final few overs for the Indian batters, but this is going to be really important for the captaincy of Amy Jones, who of course the original captaincy we're expecting for this series would be Heather Knight. She's out of the game. She missed the 100 as well with a hip injury, which she's currently rehabilitation for, and then obviously Nat Siver, who's recently made the decision to drop out of this series, focus on her mental health. They've had a lot of cricket recently, the England women. It's basically been a non-stop year for them, and it's been quite overwhelming for Nat Siver.
Well, it's been an overwhelming night for Sarah Glenn in terms of wickets. Can she make it more than 3? That's what she's sitting on at the moment, and first delivery of the next over is played out into the offside, so it's now 3 for 22. Had a really good night, and I tell you, as with style, got that towel out, lovely blue towel. I don't think she's picked up that off the cheap market stalls. I think that's top of the range.
Egyptian cotton.
Well, every chance. But still, she's needing to use the hands as well. Maybe that's actually got a bit damp itself, the toweling and the cloth. Sharma facing. LBW appeal. Not out. Shake of the head from umpire Pollard. You'll be troubling me again with something like that, he's saying. 104 for 5. Back to a mark again. She has this, it's just a couple of strides, isn't it? Just a little Trot in and into the pads. LBW appeal. Umpire Pollard again not interested, but again it's a dot ball.
It's tight bowling from Sarah Glenn, and a lot of the Indian batters don't
Thinking about the review, thinking about it. Wicketkeeper, stroke captain as well, calls for it. I thought it looked worth a call myself. Your thoughts there?
I put my finger up straight away up here and then quickly tucked it underneath the table as there was no reaction from the umpire, but I think it was close. I was going to say Sarah Glenn doesn't spin the ball very much. Most of her deliveries are skidding on or top spinners, so it could be close.
It could indeed be close. So let's have a look at this. Once again, sometimes it takes a little while to load. I mean, one of the things we're going to look at it, has it got any bat on it? And the umpire's voice you may be able to hear in the background a little bit is Sue Redfern. So then we'll check on the ultra edge. I think that's easily going underneath the bat, so there's no problem there for umpire Redfern. She declares herself satisfied. Such is the official speak of the umpires. What about this though? Let's have a look at this on the replay. Into the knee roll. Impact is outside. So umpire Pollard will feel. There we go. Told you so. But if you have to do that, well, that's your call. I know what I'm doing. And it remains 104 for 5. Next delivery. Played away through the hands, through the legs of the fielder out there. They'll go through for one. Well, that carried out there or not, we need to see again, but not too much reaction. So in the end, I think all we have is just a little reaction of that hurt a little bit.
Yeah, smacking into the lower arm of Freya Davis at short fine leg. She was good to get a bit of body on that one because it was bouncing just before, an uncomfortable bounce.
Next delivery. And that's gone high on the leg side, a catching opportunity and taken low down. Good take in the end from Danny Wyatt. She had to time that just right. For one moment I thought it's not going to get to her, and I'm sure she might have thought that as well. It's a 6th wicket fallen, and it's another wicket for Glenn. What a night for her. 4 wickets.
She's proving her worth here as a shorter format bowler. She's not always been a consistent player in this squad, but she's making a good case for it now. She's up there in the T20 rankings for global players. And she's so valuable. She's come in earlier in the innings in the power plays, but she can bowl at the death as well. And having that bowler, the spin bowler at the end, is so vital. She controls her lines. As you say, it was a nervy catch there for Danny Wyatt, as I think the ball did just drop on her. She ended up in a position where she looked as if she was almost praying down on the floor, arms just a few centimetres above the grass. But she'll always take those kind of catches. Even if she'd had to dive full length, she would have taken it.
Well, Sarah Glenn's got an opportunity of taking a fifer here this evening, and she's got one ball here to do it. And waiting for her, Bastraka, who does get bat on that onto the onside. And that is 17 overs completed, the score of 105 for 6. 4 overs for Glenn, 4 for 23. Good night's work. Excellent night's work, and that's why she's getting the low 5s.
And that's her innings. England have used theirs up. India still have 2.
So I'm just confused with by the PA announcer there. A little bit too much information from me, but anyway, Sarah Glenn. Some bowling there, which really, really impressive, including the 10 dot balls as well.
That's just absolutely key, and more highlights that India haven't been able to convert those better deliveries into those drop and runs, and that's what distinguishes a team like India, England from Australia, who are undoubtedly the top in the women's game.
Sophie Eccleston to bowl her 3rd over. A run to be had out there through mid-wicket this time. For Sharma, she moves to 12 off 14. Bastraka will face her 2nd ball in a moment or two's time. 106 for 6 in the 18th.
And it seems regardless of whoever the captain is, there's a clear tactic for England that they like to chop and change their bowlers. They don't stay on for often 2 overs. It will be constant changes so that the Indian batters can't settle. Eccleston after this one still has an over left into a 3rd now.
And that's into the pads. Oh, maybe a bit of bat the way that Jones just reached for that in the end. Smiles all round, but I think the smiles really were half a chance, almost turned into a full opportunity and chance there. Have to take a look at that on the replay again. Front on, yes, inside edge onto the pads. That caused Jones to move quickly to her right-hand side. Couldn't quite grab hold of it. And play continues with the run being added, but that for one moment would have got the wicketkeeper and the bowler a little excited. 107 for 6 the score moves to.
Interestingly enough, India's run rate dropping to just 6.11 now, and it was around the 7.5 mark in the power play. Their innings has just faded away.
Eccleston again bowls. A little uppish, it's going to be safe out there to the mid-wicket boundary. Sliding stop. I imagine it's quite easy to slide tonight. Maybe overslide will be the danger. 108 for 6. 2 balls left of the 18th. Sharma moves to 13 off 15. Straka, who's on strike 1. Again, uppish. Bounces just neatly into the hands of the fielder there, just on the edge of the circle, but they're able to go through for 1. That's good running. Just putting the fielder under a little bit of pressure if you can.
Yeah, it's more of the intent India needed. And actually, she was looking to pierce the inner ring there because all the fielders had been brought up in the covers, was so close. But India need a boundary here if they want to get to around that 120, 130 mark.
Sharma on strike. Big gap, big space out there, but it's straight to the fielder, so it should just be the 1, and it is. 110 for 6 after 18 overs. Eccleston's 18 runs now from 3. The striker on 2, Sharma on 14. Just the 2 overs remaining. And England at the moment will be very, very happy with the way things are going, but can they maintain that in these last 2 overs?
And I think they're going to have one eye on this score as well for India, because with Nat Siva dropping out of this series, then England's batting lineup has almost been decided for them, with Sophia Dunkley, Danny Wyatt, Capsey, Amy Jones, Bryony Smith and Maya Bouchier. They're your 6 established batters. They've got none others in the squad, and they are quite young. There's a couple who are perhaps not in the best form at the moment, Danny Wyatt, Maya Bouchier particularly, so whatever score over 120 won't be easy to chase.
Well, just taking a look at the time here, it suggests on the electronic scoreboard that the cut-off time is 20:52, and it is 20:52, but I've seen no signal. Talk about fielders, this one has worked away out square on the leg side for 1.
It would be quite impressive for England to be over this cut-off time, because they've mainly operated using spin.
But they've needed extra time to dry that ball. Wickets have fallen. There's a bit of running around going on out there.
Still the 4 fielders out, although the fielder at the deep cover boundary has just got their hands out going, what are we doing? Maybe at the end of the over it will be called.
So this is Davis bowling a 4th and final over. Squeezes through everything, including the wicket keeper. Runs towards the boundary, isn't going to get there, shouldn't get there. Pulled back in, pulled not back in, but over the line in the end. Well, such was the desperate attempt there by Sarah Glenn to get the body just in shape in the hand to pull it back. I'm afraid she just parries it over the rope, so it is, after all that effort, a boundary. India to 115 for 6.
Sarah Glenn and Lauren Bell there, the 2 fielders who patrol that fine leg and third man region, just trying to work together, not executing it cleanly, but it was a fantastic delivery from Freya Davis. I have no idea how that missed the stumps, and I think Amy Jones was confused too, just had no idea where the ball had really gone.
Straka is on 2 and facing now. That's just past, out of the reach of the bowler Davis. Should be okay for the fielder without too much drama to move to her left, Bryony Smith, to do the fielding, and she does. Score moves to 116 for 6 now, midway through the penultimate over. Keeping an eye on that clock though, and the umpires for any signal. They may have maybe wearing different watches than those running the scoreboard. Who knows? Now this is in the air. That's been pulled square and out to the fielder on the onside. They'll think of coming back for a 2. It's a long way for that throw to come in, and they make it back for 2.
That's finally what India have needed to do this entire innings, because these square boundaries are big, and even a direct throw into either end, it's going to take a lot from the fielder to get it there that quickly. And yes, at this point in the innings, maybe you should be just chancing it by running on the arm, and that was better from India.
Once again, Davis comes around the wicket to Sharma this time. In the air, should be safe enough out there. Slight misfield. Will they come back for two? This could be a close call, could be a close one. I think she's made it. The umpire, though, probably will want to go and check.
Umpire review.
I mean, Danny Wyatt is there, who was almost stood right next to the umpire. She's that fielder who goes and she's put her finger up next to the umpire. So if taking that by a clue, then it would suggest she's gone, but she's stuck out there in the middle.
It's hard to tell from the body language. That's why, just like the umpire, the third umpire, Sue Redfern, we've got to see this. There was a slight fumble. That led to the encouragement to go back for this next run, and they should be out. Oh, now was the bat grounded?
The bat's bobbled along the ground as well, so whether it was in the air.
So looking at the line now, thanks.
I'm not too sure. Sue Redfern may want to look at this a couple of times here. I mean, the bat is nowhere near being run in at this stage. Just have a look at this. That's the point.
Okay, can you just squeeze that for me?
I'm not too sure that bat is down and grounded. What are your thoughts?
I think that one's out. The ball, well, the bat isn't grounded, as Sue Redfern's just said.
Yeah.
I just don't know whether Vesterka there should have brought out the dive. I mean, I think she should have. Whether she was just on the wrong foot to bring it out in the end, but she would have made it home if she had just gone for that dive.
We're waiting for the sign on the board to confirm what the England supporters want to see, and that's out. I thought she'd made it, but actually she hadn't, and there is absolutely no response facially from anybody involved in terms of the players to suggest that that actually was very good work.
Yeah, I mean, Freya Kemp recovered well from that misfield. She got a good throw in to Freya Davis. Actually, the best work was from Freya Davis, because the throw was a good height, but it was a bit wide, and she missed the stumps the first time and managed to relocate them. But it's strange. The body language of the England fielders out there isn't suggesting a team who's got their opposition 6 wickets down. They look a bit down, and there's not much chat out there, not much encouragement. Maybe it's because of the sound the Indian fans are making in the crowd is making them feel a bit down. I know it's cold out there, plenty of the players have hand warmers, but in this crunch stage of the game, you've got to be alert, you've got to be on your feet, because a few boundaries here, they would be deeply unhappy with that, England.
Maybe. Let's see the conclusion of this over there. That's a slower ball just wide on the off stump. That's been played out into the offside. Getting a little slip, but they're not going to make any error twice in a row there to come back for a run. So that is 19 overs completed, and 120 for 7 is the score. Rana's come out to join Sharma following the run out of Pooja Vastraka. Run out by Kemp. She was out for 3 of 6 balls, out there for 10 minutes.
It's good to see Eccleston with the ball in hand for this final over, again taking more pace off the ball.
Now that one's worked away onto the one side, left arm throw which misses.
And it's an interesting experiment. We've seen teams like Australia, they use Jess Jonathan at the end of the innings, just to try and say, yes, it's a gamble bowling the spinner, because they can be taken down the ground if better players are in, if better batters are in, but because they're bowling at the tail, she's an effective option here. It's hard to get your own pace and power behind the ball when the bowler's not giving you much to work with.
And next ball is bowled, and that's worked away on the onside for just the 1. And the score will move up to 121 for 7. We're off for listeners on 5 Sports Extra to the tennis at the end of this innings, which is just 4 balls away. We will continue online on the BBC Sport website and app. So the tennis to come as soon as this innings is completed in a few moments' time. Next ball, and that's in the air, but just out of the reach of the fielder. It's going to run down towards the boundary, get to the rope now, and over it goes. 4 more runs.
It was inventive, it was good there from India. I was about to make a comment that we see a lot of the tail ender or lower order batters try and just hoik the ball always into that leg side, because that's the way you'll get the most power behind it. But she's been smart there. She's gone Ecclestone's bowling with a bit more pace and a bit more ferocity than usual, and identified that weaker fielder at short fine leg, snuck it past them. Good batting from India.
So, next delivery, played again behind square on the onside. They'll settle for one. So even in this final over, as we count down these final balls of this 20 overs, they're having to settle just for these singles. Score now having moved to 127 for 7. Ecclestone bowling this final over, 2 balls remaining. Again, standing on parade before she comes in and bowls. Tries to create something out there on the offside. They'll have to wait quick, coming through. Do they make it? I think they do, yes, despite the fact that the bails were whipped off. And again, all the lights flash up. So this will be the last ball of the 20 overs for India. At 128 for 7. And that ball is struck out there through mid-wicket. Is it going to be 4 to finish? It is. So India at 132 for 7, cheered on by the Indian supporters. Well, we wait and see just whether that's going to be good enough or not. For those who are listening online, we'll just wrap up this innings in a few moments' time, and we'll just throw ahead to see if we do think that these will be enough. We wait and see. Here we have, I would imagine, the last of the cricket matches to be completed today. I can't imagine there'll be too many grassroots matches being played at this time on a Saturday. And we have India women setting England at the start of this T20 series. 132 for 7, 133 needed. Sophia Dunkley there, and of course we can see on the sleeves of all the players out there the black armbands, for reasons as we've been talking about today. Deepdaz Gupta is alongside me. Fascinating as we see the start of this England reply, to ask him before we go too far, and that delivery too far wide of the off stump and through to the keeper, what your thoughts are. I mean, you've got a few runs towards the end of the innings there. Do you think that could be a big difference or not?
Oh, definitely yes. I think 133 the target can be a little tricky. You would expect England to kind of chase normal conditions, but we've spoken about the conditions before as well. You know, tricky pitch and everything else, and the spinners doing well. India's got 4 spinners.
Thakur bowling to Dunkley. Thought they were going to be the first runs on the board, but no, called back in. Gosh, very alert the fielders. I tell you, I've never seen so many alert fielders backing up. There were 3 or 4 of them that said, okay, you throw it, we're all here. But in the end the throw didn't come in.
Because I think the Indian team would realise that they'd be around 10-15 runs short. They'd be disappointed with that batting performance. I'm sure, as tricky as this pitch is, they could have got another 10-15 runs. They could have pushed themselves a bit, but I think they would want to make that up on the field.
Dunkley and Ward, the opening pair. It's Dunkley facing at the moment. Does she get a little feather on that? Yes! And a breakthrough straight away. The umpire's finger is raised. Immediate success. Just the 3rd ball. Dunkley is out, and she's on her way. And a dreadful start from England's point of view. She's got to wait. She's just being held up there by the umpire. She was making her way off, told to wait. Now, I'm not too sure what the wait is for. Maybe just to check on a no ball. I'm not too sure. Dunkley is nodding. She's been told what the wait is for by umpire Pollard. We're just waiting. Will she continue the walk, or will she turn round and go back? Let's wait and see.
Whoa.
And it's been given as a no ball, so she's on her way back. Oh, that's going to be an interesting response. I think fair to say a mixed response from the crowd. Let's take a look at that again.
Oh no. Just looking at that replay, first point of impact.
The next ball will be a free hit.
That's extremely close, I'd say, but first point of impact, it's frozen now, the screen that we're watching. That isn't the first point of impact.
Well, it's been given a no ball. This, therefore, is a free hit, and it's a wide-ish ball, not a wide. So a good response in the end from Thacker, and Dunkley doesn't quite know, literally, whether she's coming or going.
Yeah, what a massive let-off that is. I mean, yeah, you're talking about Dunkley. She's in form. She's one of the top batters in world cricket right now. A massive, massive let-off.
Dunkley still there then, facing, and plays well. She's having a pretty torrid time out there, and she misses that one again, and Thacker must be fuming with that, because she's having a terrific first over, an over which deserves of a wicket, but as yet she hasn't got one.
She's got only herself to blame for that. Only if she had kept some part of her foot behind that line. But then, yeah, having said that, it's been a good over. Again, someone like Dunkley, I mean, she looks a little rattled after that, out, which is obviously not out because of the no ball. But yeah, I mean, this is a tricky pitch. She needs to play herself in.
She was halted in a stride, big strides off. She's back out there again now, and edged just short of slip. Oh, this is a terrific first over, but not from Dunkley's point of view. She is struggling out there, and whether this over is going to put into context the size of task facing England, well, if it is, England have got a toughie on their hands tonight.
Oh, absolutely, yes. There's absolutely no two ways about it. Held the edge, didn't carry. Well, that's the nature of the pitch we have for this game here.
Shuffling in again, Thacker. Can she get a wicket? Down the leg side. It's going to be a wide. Well, it's had a little bit of everything as this over. And England somehow, and it's still not over, have got to 2 for no loss.
Yeah, I mean, you wanted action, you wanted drama. You've got in the very first over. Out, no ball, wide. Good bowling, outside edge not carrying.
Back to a mark again, Thacker. This over, actually, it would be part of the story if she were to get a wicket with this ball. So much room given, and that's gone straight back past the bowler and the sawdust over the rope. It's going to be 4 runs. Well, I knew something was going to happen on that last ball. It had to, because it was such an eventful first over. Not in favour of the bowler in the end, but in favour of the batter Dunkley. And the score now moves to 6 for no wicket after 1 mesmerising over.
Yeah, a bit of a slog, the last one, isn't it? Made room for herself, went leg side. The umpire does well because she hit it really hard and straight down the pitch. The umpire does well to duck under it.
That would have been something, which wouldn't surprise me. The poor old umpire getting struck by the ball. I mean, gosh, if we've got another 19 overs similar to that one, we could be here until midnight.
Hope not, hope not.
Well, we wait and see. Sharma is going to bowl the second over, and she's going to be bowling to Danny Wyatt. Danny Wyatt at the other end, who's just been standing herself, taking evasive action on one occasion. No,
Pooja Vastrakar.
So
India's only going in with 2 seamers. That's the other thing. I was a little surprised with that, playing 11, only 2 seamers. And Pooja generally is your 3rd seamer. She's more of a all-rounder. Obviously, she used to be really quick when she was younger, then obviously injuries and everything else. Now she's lost a bit of pace, but she does get the ball to swing around.
Vastrakar to bowl the second over then. No, somebody's not quite ready. I'm not too sure who, where. I tell you, we'll be here till midnight. I've just got a funny feeling. Vastrakar back to a mark again. And she's going to come into Wyatt. Now bowls down the leg side. Keeper can't get hold of that. That's going to run down to the boundary and over the rope. And a signal as wides there by the umpire. 4 of them. And England move to 10. 11, of course. 11 for no wicket. The wide and the 4. So 11 on the board.
Yeah, I did mention about Vastrakar got this ability to swing the ball way too much this time around, down leg side. Yeah, even Richa Sharma had to put in Richa had to put in a dive, but wasn't close.
Vastrakar again to Wyatt into the offside. Very tentative England here. I mean, from one extreme to the other, either very nervous, apprehensive about what's coming, or stand back, this is going somewhere. I don't know where, but it's going somewhere.
Yeah, you'd also reckon someone like Wyatt, who hasn't scored too many runs of late. Maybe she would be a little more tentative than compared to some of the others who've had a fairly decent run in the 100 and the games before that as well.
Back to a mark again. Bastraka, and that's got enough width on it. Actually, nicely cut away by Wyatt. Should bring her 2 runs, 2 comfortable runs in the end. And I imagine she'll feel quite good about that. It was there to be played, but played it really nicely. Score moves to 13.
Yeah, and this pitch would allow her to settle down as well, because it would give her some time. The total as well, the target 133 isn't the biggest target. You can take a little bit of your time, and you need to be a grafter here on this pitch. I mean, you know that you're not going to get a lot of boundaries here, but you need to find the gaps, pick up those singles and twos.
Wyatt facing again. Oh, and she's got plenty behind that. It's a lovely shot. Races through. Finds the gap on the offside. It's a 4. That's one of the more impressive shots we've seen of the evening. And as you rightly mentioned, those scores more recently in the 100 have not been as you might expect from Danny Wyatt. 15, a couple of ducks, a 36 not out, but that was played really, really well. And saying about maybe a little bit tentative, not there.
Yeah.
And perhaps just feeling that previous one, getting a bit of bat on it, feels good. She's moved to 6. England 17 for no wicket. Midway through this second over, chasing a target of 133. Next ball, good ball, which comes back in just a little bit, but gets bat defensively into the offside. No run.
Yeah, that's a better line, because on a pitch like this, as a batter, you see a little bit of width, you want to punish, because you're not going to get too many of those opportunities. So yeah, Danny Wyatt doing the right thing. The last delivery was a lot straighter, played it defensively, watchfully. Any room outside, obviously she's going to throw a bat at it. And the last couple of deliveries, the boundary and the 2, she timed it beautifully. She should get a lot of confidence from those 2.
Hopefully not too much overconfidence. Well, that's a slower ball and a wideish ball, which umpire Pollard is happy to let go. Do you want to give a nice little ooh again? Because I enjoyed that. You gave 2 oohs, which if you give a third, it really does suggest you think the umpire's got it wrong. So are we going to get a third ooh? Ooh, there we are. A third ooh says that you disagree with the umpire, that should have been called a wide, and he didn't call it a wide.
Yeah, I mean, that was quite wide. Well, let's have a look at that replay. What do you think?
Just inside the line possibly, but certainly you and the batter, Danny Wyatt, thought it should have been. That's behind square, stopped, half stopped, which may create a chance to come back for 2. It does, and coming down to the danger end, which is the bowler's end, they make their ground.
This doesn't look right. It's Radha Yadav. She dived on her right shoulder, it seems.
And is in pain. Very clearly in pain and discomfort. And we're going to get a delay here, the sort of delay that I wasn't referring to earlier. But yeah, she's thrown herself at that. It did allow them to go through for 2. The score moves to 19 for no wicket.
Oh, Lord.
And lay out there, nodding, obviously communicating there with the physio, but a former player yourself, you have a fear for something really quite nasty here?
Yeah, I just hope it's not her shoulder popping out, because she's still lying. She hasn't got up. She seems to be in a lot of pain. She's like grabbing onto her right shoulder right now. Oh Lord, and she's one of the main bowlers as well, but besides the point, leave that aside. I mean, I just hope it's not what I think it is, to be honest.
She needed some persuading there from the physio just to turn over, and she's now upon her feet and looks to be in discomfort. What I would say is, and this often is the case, when players get back up on their feet, I don't feel half as worried as I do when they lay out on the ground, but that still takes nothing away from the fact that doesn't look great. But she's not grimacing with pain, no?
Not as much.
I wonder sometimes when players go down like that, and I look to you because obviously you're a former player, when players go down like that, the fear is, oh gosh, what has happened? Yeah. And once the physio comes out and says, well, it might only be the so-and-so, it would do anybody, make you feel just a little bit better about things. And but she's going to have to come off. And as you say, in terms first of health, and make sure she's not going to be too bad, because she is holding the shoulder there, that area. That's the first thought. But the second is, I mean, that does look as if she may not play any further part, even though hopefully it's not going to be as bad as we may have first thought.
I completely agree with you, because I don't think it's the popping or anything else, because obviously her hand's dangling. The first thing the physio would have done is make sure it's in a brace position, that elbow or the right shoulder. But yeah, hopefully she's all right. But like you said, I don't think that she'll be back on the field for this game at least.
And big loss for India. Big loss for India. Okay, now what can Thakur throw up this time? Because the first over was just amazing in all sorts of different ways. 19 for no wicket. Dunkley it is facing again, so it's the battle recommenced. Let's see what happens. Oh, very nearly squeezes through. I tell you, this is definitely a battle which is one which you look at and you think, don't look anywhere else. And Dunkley has that look upon her face as if to say, I'm not too sure what's happening here, what's she doing? And her only response so far was off the eventual last ball of that first over she bowled, which was just to go, right, take this, something somewhere. And she sort of slammed it straight back past her. But I think trying to play anything neatly is proving quite difficult at the moment. So she faces it again. Thakur bowls, tries to create a little bit of room and space. She does get enough bat on that to go through for 1 at least. She moves to 5 herself. Oh, it's been signalled as a leg by actually. So the score will move on by 1. But Dunkley won't. She stays on 4. And it's 20 for no wicket.
It's going to be
Wyatt is back on strike.
And for the first time facing Thakur, it'll be interesting how she kind of handles Thakur, who's been really good so far. So asked a lot of tough questions. Yeah, but she's more kind of orthodox, Danny Wyatt, with her. And I talk about Dunkley's grip, which is a little different from the traditional grip.
Well, Wyatt's played some nice shots already this evening. That one is just a defensive riposte.
Yeah, but with Dunkley, that grip's very interesting. It's not together, both the hands. They're like a little separate. And there's this gap between the top hand and the bottom hand. That can make things a little tricky, especially on pitches like this.
Okay. Well, it's looked very tricky for her so far. And she thought she was out at one point, and would have been if not for a no ball. Pushed through by Wyatt. Right arm throw. Good running. Of which, am I right in saying, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe we could be a little bit critical of India with some of their running?
Yeah. Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I mean, when I say they've got at least 10-15 runs short, not because they could have been a little more adventurous with their shot making with some of the players who are known to be big hitters, and also the running, as you mentioned. I mean, that was quite disappointing. And they're all really fit, athletic players the Indians have got now.
Finding their feet at the start of a new series and that maybe. Dunkley's on 4 again, tries to lift that somewhere. It's gone running down towards us here. It's going to be 4. What's going to be signalled there by the umpire as byes? Well, this innings from Dunkley is like something you've probably never seen before. But the score is moving along. She's even at one stage been on her way out, walking back to the pavilion. Even then she was walking in the wrong direction actually, which was a bit of but then sent back because it was a no ball. But whilst all this is going on, England have moved to 25 for no wicket with 1 ball left of the third over and a target of 133. And Dunkley is sitting there on 4. She's faced 10 balls and they've all had a story to tell. Next one, and that's driven straight out there to extra cover, straight to the fielder. How boring was that? It was a perfectly decent batting shot and straight to the fielder. Well, we don't want any of that. We want more of what we saw before. 25 for no wicket after 3 overs. Dunkley on 4, Wyatt on 9. This target 133. 7 runs coming from Thakur so far.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of the bowling option that India's got now, that just in case Radha Yadav won't be available to bowl her quota. India has actually Harman can bowl.
a little bit of the northeast air late on a Saturday night is getting to my very good friend Deep Das Gupta next to me. But don't worry, he'll be back. Are you back?
I'm back.
Well, you are back, but just hang in there, my friend. Just hang in there. You'll be fine. I'm looking forward to you going through those bowling options in a few moments' time. Just hold on a second. Wyatt. It is who's on 9. Now, Sharma. Those on the graphics tried to say that she was going to bowl an over ago, but anyway, she's back in now. And a bit of spin here to Wyatt, who's sitting on 9. And in past umpire Pollard. Width, well, I mean, she looks a little bit disappointed there. Maybe could have cut that a little bit firmer. But anyway, straight out there into the offside.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult because obviously we haven't seen the ball bouncing as much. So scoring square off the wicket where you need pace and bounce. Oh, that turned as well.
Yes.
Fair bit of turn there.
A lot of turn. That's what caused the problem. That one is slammed away on the offside. Yes, didn't pick that up first on the live. But then looking at that replay, whoa. And that is going to put a little bit of doubt into the batter's mind there. However, confident enough to get something off the next delivery wire to move to a runnable 10, 26 for no wicket in the 4th over. Dunkley is back on strike. And I have to say, as beautiful as Wyatt has played some shots, Dunkley for me is providing the entertainment here at the moment. And I tell you, there's going to be a ball that's going to fly out of the ground in a minute. That's what's going to happen. She has a little look around her. Got a slip in. Next ball bowled. The leading edge out there, and that's through the hands of the fielder on the edge of the circle. They will go through for 2. And yet again, she's got 2 runs, and you can't quite work out how. She's moved to 6, and the score 28 for no wicket. Well, have you, even in T20, seen anything quite like this? But she's still there. She's still there.
That's what matters, isn't it?
She was looking to work that through mid-wicket, ends up there, through the offside, 2 runs.
Yeah, she was looking to play with the turn, but obviously that didn't.
Next ball. Oh, that's a nice looking shot, actually. Oh, and through the hands of the fielder. So from the batter, Dunkley, nice batting. Really nice shot. But as we've said, anything she's doing out there at the moment, there's always a little bit of a tail to tell, and the tail there was a misfield. That should have been stopped. It wasn't. It's a boundary.
Yeah, Pooja Vastrakar. That's like simple, isn't it? At this level, she overruns it. Did get a right hand to it, but then
just the fingertips in the end. Well, Dunkley's moved to 10. And it's been a whole different innings from Wyatt, who's also on 10, but it's Dunkley still facing. Oh, now that's big. That's out on the offside. That's going to be 1 bounce and rolls over the boundary rope for 2. Right, this is more like it from Dunkley. Forgetting the misfield on the last one, we've actually seen a couple of really good shots from Dunkley. She moves to 14 and takes the England score to 36 for no wicket. 36 for no wicket, going along, chasing just 133. This, for everything else that's going on, this is a really good start from England.
It is, and this is a really good shot. I mean, hitting the off-spinner over mid-off. But what she did really well was, 1, read that it's not going to turn. Secondly, reach the pitch of the ball. And that was out of the middle as well.
So, she's settling in here. She's on 14. Sharma's gone for 11 runs so far. Got 1 ball to come. And she's not quite ready. So she concentrates again to come back in. Deepti Sharma with her spin. Bowls full. Played well for 1 up here to the mid-on boundary. And Dunkley will move to 15. She'll keep the strike. 37 for no wicket. The target being 133. 4 overs gone. And as I say, I've really quite enjoyed them. Because we've seen a bit of everything. We've seen a little bit of bad cricket, and we've seen a bit of really good cricket. And we've seen some fine shots out there. Still got to feel a little, of course, for India, because they would have had a wicket if not for the no ball right at the top. But and also fielding hasn't been that great. Couple of misfields in the last over. Going back to that bowling options, Radha Yadav, if she can't make it and she can't be back on the field, then you've obviously got Renuka, Sneh Rana, Deepti Sharma off spinners, Pooja quick,
Harman, another off spinner. So yeah, they're left with only 5 bowling options now.
Tucker, they're calling on her again. In and bowls in the air. Will it be a wicket?
Oh.
No, it's been dropped. Oh dear, oh dear. This now is turning into a little bit of an embarrassment for India in the field, actually, as well as an annoyance. And the pain is more than just the right hand there, let me tell you that. It's more than just the hand. That should have been caught. Tucker, what on earth does she have to do tonight to take a wicket?
Ah, she's been brilliant, hasn't she? Thakur's been brilliant. A simple catch. That's like regulation to Shefali Verma, who grasses it.
This time it's over the fielders, behind square on the offside. Runs down towards the boundary. Will he get there? Yes, he will. Over the rope now, 4 runs. Well, India will be so deeply upset and hurt about their fielding so far. That's a 5th 4 of the innings. As I say, take nothing away actually from this batting pair, because we've actually seen some fine shots in amongst some of the more unusual means of scoring. But you have to say, as fine as some of the shots have been, the fielding really has been pretty atrocious. Can they get it together? They need to, India here. England have moved to 41 for no wicket in the 5th over. Next ball bowled, driven, nice looking shot again by Dunkley out there. It's a long area for just 1 run out to mid wicket, and she's off onto a big stride. Look at her, come back. Where are you walking off to there? Now I reckon that's because she's now thinking that was a little bit of a roller coaster for me to start off with, but now that shot, which I thought looked nice, she's only got a single, I think she's thinking, I'm through that, we're okay now. She's moved to 20, 42 for no wicket midway through the 5th over. Wyatt is on 10, and paces again punched into the offside, go through for 1. This has been such a good start here by England, knowing exactly what they have to do, unlike India at the point in that first innings where they made an okay sort of start. They were doing okay, but when you're setting and tricky conditions, and there is a lot of sort of damp, wet outfield and all that sort of thing, you're not too sure as you're going through those middle overs, what should we be doing? Well, time will tell whether or not they got it right. They certainly got some runs late on in the 20, but the target 133, 2 balls left of the 5th over. Dunkley facing again on 20, down into the ground, and again a concern here for India is Thakur, who's bowling really well. He's only got the 1 over after this one, and they're down by a bowler as well with an injury. Was it right to call upon her straight away to come back like that? Thakur, I wonder if I would have held it back a little bit, maybe. But maybe they think this partnership already has the look and the feel of it. Unless we break it, the game is lost. Maybe already, I don't know. 1 ball left of the 5th over. Thakur bowls slower. She's been skillful tonight, actually, really skillful, much more deserving of a wicket than those figures would suggest. 13 runs coming from 3 overs, but England at 43 for no wicket. Dunkley on 20, Wyatt on 11. Nikesh Raghani will come in and join you. Do you want to talk about fielding, or would you like to talk about anything else other than fielding?
Yeah, other than fielding. Let's not even get there. But listen, I think this is also good, game plan tactically from England, because we've seen once this ball gets older and the spinners start bowling, it's difficult to hit those big shots. Maybe that's the reason we see Dunkley trying so hard to play those big shots and get some kind of a momentum going as Deepti Sharma comes in to bowl her second, and played down to deep point for a single, and last over of the power play. And this has been a really good power play as far as England's concerned. 44 without loss, 6th over, first ball of the 6th over gone. Nikesh,
Lots of question marks over India's fielding once again, and the discipline. The no ball, of course, in the first over, the wicket taken off the no ball. Then again, full toss, which is driven only as far as short extra cover, and there is no run. I heard you talking about the first point of impact, and it was touch and go and maybe a slightly harsh call, but it's had a domino effect on the rest of the power play so far.
12 extras so far.
Indeed, yeah. In once more, and this is driven by Dunkley, but only as far as mid-off, but a slight fumble allows them through for a single, and a horrible throw from the captain, Harmanpreet Kaur. Richa Ghosh doing well to get to that, way over to her left.
Yeah,
In the end, they get through for one.
I just get a feeling, I know it's cold out there, it could be that, because it's the first game. I was having a chat with the Indian coach, Ramesh Pawar, and he's like, they've been here for the last 10 days, they've been practicing, obviously it's been raining, so most of that practice last couple of days was indoors, but it just seems like they're struggling with the cold a bit.
In again, and this is cut away past the diving effort there at backward point. Is that going to be another boundary for Danny Wyatt? No, it's cut off by the sweeper running around to her left. So a couple of runs to Wyatt, 47 without loss, 2 balls remaining in the power play. That target 133.
It looks a lot smaller now, isn't it, that target?
Yep, we were saying the early wicket was needed really for India to get into this game once again, and it hasn't come. Runs have been flowing as well. It wants some more to Wyatt, and that is wide and will be signalled so as well. Way down to the offside. Another good take there by Richa Ghosh.
This is what I'm saying. Listen, you've got an underpass score. This is very negative bowling and defensive, because what she's trying to do, she's got extra fielder backward of point and bowling outside off stump.
She goes again, floats this one up, and it's hammered out towards long on. That's been 1 bounce 4, almost carries all the way for 6. Lovely shot there from Danny Wyatt. It was not quite a lofted drive, not quite a slog sweep, somewhere in between. But effective nonetheless, and 50 up for England as well, 52 without loss.
Now that is a good shot. I think you explained it really, really well. But having said that, again, it's really defensive. You need wickets, right? If you're India, you're looking to pick wickets here. And when you're bowling that line way outside off stump, encouraging the batter to play square off the wicket, that's defensive bowling, that's not attacking bowling.
Final ball of the over is short. It's pulled away just out of the reach of Smithy Mandana at mid-wicket, and that's gone all the way to the boundary for 4 as well. So back-to-back boundaries for Danny Wyatt to finish the power play for England, and it's been a fantastic one for them in their pursuit of 133. They are 56 without loss. Wyatt onto 22 from just 15. Dunkley enjoying the entertainment from the other end as well, 21 from 22.
Yeah, I mean, I was completely agreed with you when you said 133 looks kind of below par on the face of it, but obviously, I mean, now it seems like a walk in the park, isn't it? 133, it shouldn't be that easy, because it's still, the pitch is kind of tricky, and we've seen how Sophie Dunkley has struggled, even though she's batting on 21 now, but she struggled to get there. Hardly middled anything, maybe a couple of them. Danny Wyatt, having said that, has batted beautifully so far, but 56 without loss can't be that easy on this surface.
Yeah, Danny Wyatt, listeners in India will be familiar with Danny Wyatt. She was trending for quite some time a few years back, 2014, when India were touring, and young Virat Kohli caught her eye, and she sent out a marriage proposal. It was a bit of a joke on Twitter, and it went viral at the time, of course. A lot of things have changed in the meantime, but Danny Wyatt still a crucial member of this England side, as Sneh Rana comes into the attack from the far end, and she is to Dunkley, who's down the track and smashes this straight to the backstop almost. It's a strange fielding position, almost directly behind the bowler, just slightly to the leg side, just so that she doesn't get in the line of the batter. It's a very strange position.
Yeah, but how close was that to Sneh Rana? Was there a catch here? I'd say there was half a chance. Obviously, Middle did very well and hit hard. Quite close to Sneh Rana.
Yeah, half chance.
Half a chance.
Was hit with some power, though, as you say. Just a single taker. So Wyatt's on strike this time, dancing down the track and flicking away just straight of mid-wicket, and they get back for 2. Good running. Ran the first one hard. And in the end, it was a comfortable 2, and we didn't see enough of that from the Indian batters as well, did we, throughout their innings?
No, we didn't. Definitely not. depended too much, the Indian innings, on boundaries and big shots.
Rana drying the ball. She makes her way in once more, and Wyatt's again down the track and been stumped, has she? Brilliant effort that from Richa Ghosh. It was fired down the leg side, and we're going to go upstairs to have a look. Really quick hands to move away to her left, gather the ball, and then take the stumps. And Danny Wyatt, well, you can see from the body language, she's concerned. There's mud and soil all down the top of Richa Ghosh. She won't mind if this is a breakthrough for India. Let's wait for the replay.
Yeah, she does really well, Richa Ghosh. That turned quite a bit, down leg side, gathers it. Can she get it back in time?
Well, I think she has. I mean, we can't really tell from this angle. We're looking directly down the pitch. They're going to check for the ultra edge, of course. That's why we're looking from this angle.
But what a take.
So no edge. Maybe just flicking off the pad as well to make the take even more difficult for Ghosh. Really far down the leg side, actually. Great gather with the gloves. And
brilliant.
She's gone. She's a long way gone, Danny Wyatt, even with the dive. That is a brilliant effort from Richa Ghosh, and wide signalled. They won't mind that. They finally got their breakthrough, India. 60 for 1 England in the 7th over, still in the driving seat. Danny Wyatt was just threatening to take the bowlers apart there, just getting into her groove, gone for 24 from 16. And that brings to the crease Alice Capsey. Can India stage a comeback?
Yeah, that was a really good innings, and she was looking really dangerous. Danny Wyatt, 24 of 16, and you know what? I just get a feeling, obviously, with more protection now, more boundary riders, and the spinners coming in, there is a good chance that India might be able to make a comeback here. But for that, they need to be more attacking in the mindset and field placement. Bowl well, but looking back at that stumping again, that was phenomenal from Richa. She does so very well, and that was a flick of the pad as well. Well done, Richa.
So maybe it shouldn't have been signalled a wide with the deviation off the pad, the ultra edge showing the flick, but wide signalled by the standing umpire as well.
Didn't the umpire mention that when he was talking?
Yeah, I couldn't quite hear because we've not got the feed coming through here. We're relying on the PA system around the ground. But either way, wide was signalled. In comes Rana, and Capsey cuts away. Well fielded at backward point. Dot ball, and all of a sudden there's a bit of a spring in the step of the Indian fielders after that breakthrough. They needed it.
Yes.
Seems to have lifted the side.
She's a brilliant fielder, Simran. Proper all-rounder. Bowls seam up, but she's obviously on the field in place of Radha Yadav.
Rana fires this one in quicker, and it's just knocked to short extra cover. No run once more. Capsey, I suppose, with the luxury of 60 runs already on the board, coming in the 7th over. Smallish target in front of them, can just get herself set for a couple of deliveries. Rana is in, and she's back cutting this time as Capsey gets off the mark out towards deep cover.
I haven't really seen much of Capsey, but I know for a fact Mithali, she rates her very, very highly. Says she's one to watch out for. So really would be interested to see how she goes about in this innings. Very orthodox in her approach and her batting technique.
One of this new generation, 18 years, just turned 18 actually last month. So young talent on show here for England. Down the track this time comes Dunkley and cuts away, gets the single. Throw comes in at the non-striker's end, misses. But, good backing up, keeps it down to just the single. So 7 overs gone. England 62 for 1, chasing 133 for victory to take a 1-0 series lead. Thank you to Deep, who makes way alongside me for Melissa Story. And good start here from England, 62 for 1. And talking of Alice Capsey, of course, Oval Invincible, 100 winner.
I mean, she's Got
18 years
200
old, it's all going for her.
200 medals now
Bowling
for
off the
her.
thick legs, number
That's not
Only
bad, is
18
it?
years. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not fair. I'd like 200. I'd just like 100 medal, maybe. I actually got to hold one of the 100 medals, the one Emily Windsor won, who hit the winning run. She's part of our commentary team a lot of the time. They're really heavy. Gives you a bit of a neck
The
strain.
trophy as well with the big H. Right, Mastraka into the attack, and this is almost hit straight into the air to mid-off, just on the bounce to Harmanpreet Kaur, who fields, but they get through for a single. She was almost knocked back by the power in the shot as well.
Feels
Sophia Dunkley.
like there's still that uneven bounce. The ball's just gripping in the surface a bit. England have realised that. They've already bowled on this pitch. They've already been out there for a few overs, but they're not holding back from playing those shots. So there's been a few which have almost gone to hand. There's been a few which have gone to hand and then gone down, but they're playing it risky cricket, but it's paying off, and they're ahead of the rate. 70 need off 77.
Mastraka in again to Capsey this time, who just defends into the leg side. No run. One thing I do find interesting as well, just looking at the squad numbers and the squad names, and for so long in the Indian men's setup you had numbers 7 and number 18. Can you remember? Do you know who the current number 18 is for India men? I'll give you a clue.
Oh God, I'll wait for the clue.
After this delivery from Mastraka. Deep, don't help. This is cross-batted down the ground, and that's going to be 4 runs, is it? Oh, it's just slowing up on the outfield here. The chase is on, and oh, what a poor bit of fielding. That is. It was the debutant, Kiran Navgire, who didn't pull out the dive. It was the old, almost fast bowler's attempt in the 1970s or 1980s, just stroll across the boundary, try and flick it in with the slow bend down. She got fingertips to it, but
I'd
it trickles
rather
away.
have seen her use the boot. Just stick the foot out. That would have been classic.
Well, she was coming in from behind it, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She was coming in from
Maybe
the side.
a bit of a heel flick over the rope.
Yeah,
Bring out the trick
might have been the
shots.
way to go, but another bit of poor fielding from India. England on to 67 for 1 now. Mastraka in again, this time a play and a miss, short and wide outside the off stump.
Can
so number
I
18.
make a guess that it's someone who recently scored a century after a very long time of not
71st
cooling?
international century. Yeah, Virat Kohli, the number 18, he's still there. Number 7 from yesteryear, MS Dhoni.
I should have
Two
known that.
iconic men's cricketers and 2 iconic women as well with those same numbers. Harmanpreet Kaur, the skipper, and Smriti Mandana, number 18. This is short and pulled away out towards deep mid-wicket. That's been middled, and that's going to be 4 more. Capsey on the charge now. She's taken a couple of deliveries just to get her eye in. And Mastraka just straying in her length and given the treatment there. 71 for 1.
And she hasn't got her field right here, and if she's embarking on this shorter tactic of banging the ball into this surface, banking on the ball, just sticking in the pitch and catching out either Capsey or Dunkley, she needs someone in front of square on the onside. She doesn't have that. She's got a deep cover, deep square, deep third, and a fine leg on the boundary. And interestingly enough, the fielder from deep square has just been brought around in front of square. So if it's going to stick in the pitch, there's more chance it's going to be hit in front of square rather than behind, because there's not enough pace to carry it behind.
Straka is full this time, and it's driven only as far as mid-on, this time fielded by Navgire.
But it's just so hard for the captain when you've got that quite sporadic shorter ball followed up by the Yorker. If this is something you've spoken about and you can adjust the field accordingly per delivery, then go for it. But I feel at this stage of England well in front, only 1 wicket down, they've just got to stick to a plan here and really try and put the pressure on England. You've seen so often across the 100 there was at times where every single player on the boundary was out on the leg side, and the likes of Siver and Brunt for the Trent Rockets were just firing the ball in at the pads of the batter, and they had no other option but to try and open up the offside, which then allowed the batters to sneak through and get those wickets. But with a field spread 360, it doesn't indicate that you have a plan, and a plan which is going to get you wickets.
Right, Snarana to continue then. To Dunkley, who's down the track, lofting this one. Is it carried? Oh, it's put down. It's a difficult chance. It's Harmanpreet Kaur, the skipper. She was running around from a very straightish long on position round to a more orthodox long off position, so did well to make up the ground. put in the hard yards, but just couldn't quite hang on. She was at full stretch. Did get both hands to it though, and it's another chance down for India.
I mean, the athleticism to get there was impressive, and I think she'll be even more annoyed with herself because of it, and it's been parried away for 6. Just hear that roar from the crowd who are grateful for that. But it does show Sophia Dunkley's class and her brilliance going down the ground against these slower bowlers, and Harmanpreet Kaur has gone even straighter now to the point where she's behind Alice Capsey at the non-striker's end.
Rana delivers again, fired in this time towards the block hole and out towards Harmanpreet Kaur, who fields in a more conventional long on position, just running away towards her right. It's not a backstop, because the backstop is behind the wicketkeeper. What would you call that position? I mean, if I was the batter, I'd be having words.
Yeah.
She's straying a bit straight, particularly to Dunkley. She's moving into a more conventional long on position now. In fact, coming into mid on.
I mean, they always say there's no fielders behind the bowler's arm, but in this case there really is, so it's making that shot over their head a bit more dangerous.
Capsey now on strike then as Rana is in, and it's hit away again to Harmanpreet Kaur, she's not really in a conventional mid-on position either. It's that catching position. She's kind of 2/3 away to the boundary there. It's neither here nor there, is it?
I'm not sure as well. I'm a fan of the captain being on the boundary approach, because it just, for me, doesn't send a good signal to your fielders. You're isolating yourself from the action in the middle. I feel like there could be someone else who could take that spot. I know it's a key position. She's a great fielder, but swap someone in.
Rana floats this one up to Dunkley, and again out to Harmanpreet Kaur, this time just driven along the ground. Single taken.
But I also understand the temptation, because when I've been able to captain for my women's club side, I always want to be at long on, especially in the shorter format, because you're almost going, come on, hit a catch to me, I know it's coming. You want to be in the action, you trust yourself to take that catch. But as I said, it's not the best message to be sent to your team. Sune Lee's in the recent series against South Africa, she was often at deep third, and you're just not within the action of it all as a captain if you're out on the boundary.
In again, and this is hammered down the ground and all the way for 6. Lovely bit of timing there from Capsey, who has come out on a mission here to get this over and done with as quickly as possible. What a shot that was. The Indian fielders as well, just as we were waiting to see, it was skied quite high in the air. They just all stood up and almost admired that shot into the night sky, didn't they?
Well, this
lovely
is
stuff.
Why I love Alice Capsey so much, because she's come into a situation where it would be very easy traditionally for a player to just knock it around and make the most of the deliveries remaining to chase this total down. She's all about entertainment, and she's all about having a bit of fun out there in the middle, showing what she can do. Yes, England are in a comfortable position. It's not going to stop her going down the ground and trying to play those big shots, and these two in the middle are probably the two cleanest strikers of the ball at the moment in the women's game, and in England, besides maybe Nat Siver. They just have raw power and timing to go down the ground, and actually Alice Capsey's hit that one so hard the ball must have bounced into something behind the bowler's head, and they weren't too happy with the state of the ball there. Maybe it's got a bit of a dent.
Yeah, the Indians trying to have a word with the umpire just to see if they can get that changed. Umpire says no. Rana will continue once more to Capsey, this time fired in, hit straight back to her. She fields off her own bowling, and there is no run. So 11 overs remaining in the innings, just 47 runs required for England. It's a bit of a cakewalk at the moment, and it's great entertainment for everybody here. Maybe not so much the Indian supporters, of who there are quite a few, but just to see this quality of cricket as well. 86 for 1 and cruising.
Yeah, and we were saying at the innings break that maybe 130 would just be defendable for the Indian bowlers, but they didn't set the tone in the right way. There was fielding errors, the bowlers were a bit both sides of the wickets, and I think that early wicket of Sophia Dunkley, if that hadn't have been a no ball, things would be so much more different now, because you'd not only subtract the runs Dunkley has made, she's 32 off 28, but just that early wicket, the momentum it gives you as a team. India almost triumphed over Australia multiple times in the Commonwealth Games because of those early wickets Renuka Singh took, but you can't make errors like bowling those front foot no balls, especially in this format, and even the free hit was costly in the end. It just gave England a bit too much momentum early on.
Harmanpreet Kaur then, the skipper, into the attack, and is immediately lap swept down towards fine leg. Short fine was in the circle, so that allows them through for another couple of runs. Good awareness there from Dunkley.
Do you like a stat?
I love a stat.
Here we go. England's playing 11 today versus India is the first time that none of the 2017 World Cup winning side versus India at Lords is playing in the team. Wyatt played in the group stages, but not the final. It's from Richard Isaacs on Twitter.
Yeah, brilliant stat. It wasn't so long ago, was it? You think of people like Heather Knight, obviously
I feel
out
old.
at the moment, injured. Well, she is injured, the skipper. Obviously, Nat Siver not in the side today as well. This is floated up by Harmanpreet. It hits straight back to her, well fielded. There is no run. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen to Catherine Brunt as far as this format of the game is concerned. She's not currently in the squad. We'll come back for the ODIs. Harmanpreet is short outside off, and it's hit past short extra cover. There's a bit of work to do for the two sweepers there, and they almost mess it up with a bit of boot work. And in the end, Verstraete throws the ball in. Harmanpreet not impressed with that. And another couple of runs onto the total.
Well, it looked as if they were running towards each other to link up arms and then get involved in maybe a ballroom or a waltz around the outfield, because they just connected into each other and politely looked at each other to go, well, maybe it was less polite, maybe it was more of a Argentine tango. It was quite aggressive, but
Nearly a double headbutt, wasn't it?
poor communication out there.
And she nearly trod on her foot as well, did Simran onto Verstraete's foot. Nearly. Verstraete with the footwork in the end, but yeah, it was ugly. It's not been a good sight really, the Indian fielding in this innings. Harmanpreet is in again, well wide of the off stump. It's hit over the top of that point fielder, and a misfield again. There you go. Just as we were talking about the ugly nature of India's fielding, another misfield there on the deep point boundary, and just 3 runs being gifted to England.
I do feel, obviously we need to hold this India team accountable. The fielding's not been up to their usual standards, but I can't help but feel sorry for them. I went and sat outside for about 10 minutes, and I think I'm only just feeling warmth again in my hands. You know, it's a September evening in Durham. It's been a bit drizzly all day. It's cold. It's quite late now. We're past 10 p.m. And so it is always one of those difficult things. And of course, fielding under floodlights as well. It's not something these players do very often, so it is difficult.
And again, big full toss. Surely that's a no ball as well. It's hammered out towards deep mid wicket. It is signalled a no ball. They get through for a single. And what is going on?
I maybe won't excuse that from Kaur. That was a nasty delivery and quite a dangerous one in the end. It was impressive that Dunkley managed to get it where she did out to deep square, but I'm sure she would have reluctantly taken that single, because you know, when you get off strike and you're going, I want to face the free hit, I'm the one who got the nasty delivery, surely I should be the one to hit it. But I'm sure Capsey will capitalise here.
Yep, it is a free hit. Maybe the ball just slipping. Wet nature. Free hit is, it's a terrible delivery. It's a wide outside the off stump, almost off the cut strip, and the free hit remains, and they get an extra run as well. England.
The next ball will still be a free hit.
Harmanpreet Kaur got dinner reservations somewhere in Durham tonight. She's in again, and this is a straighter delivery, but it's hammered down the ground. That's gone all the way for 6 as well. Just a little dance down the track from Alice Capsey. A cross-batted smash down the ground, and the 100 up for England as well. 103 for 1. We've not even had 10 overs bowled.
Yeah, it's a pretty rank delivery again from Harmanpreet Kaur, and although these flat batted shots down the ground don't look pretty, they've been so effective on this pitch when the ball's holding up.
Kaur in again and floated up outside the off stump. What is she doing here? She's arguing with the umpire, saying that the one you signalled wide was a similar delivery. She's getting quite angry here and quite vocal, and she needs to just rein it in a bit. She's the captain of the side, of course. She's conceded 17 off the over, which isn't great. And what's going on here now? The umpire having a word with her as well. Smriti Mandana, her vice captain, calming her down. She's going for the umpire. I've not seen this side of her out on the field.
I haven't either, and it's good that Smriti Mandana, as the vice-captain, is getting involved here for India, just telling her captain to calm down a bit, because it's not a good thing. Your role models out there on the pitch, you've got to show that due respect to the umpires, even if you disagree with a decision. At the end of the game, you've just got to maybe sigh, take a deep breath, accept it. But it sends a bad message for any young people listening or viewing about those kind of decisions. But
Right, Kevin Howells will take over from me in just a second. In fact, I might just do this delivery because Snehirana is coming in to bowl to Dunkley, who sweeps away, and that's going to race away for 4 as well. Yeah, just past the despairing dive there at backward square leg. So 4 more runs to England. The wheels have well and truly come off India. I'm going to go and have a lie down after all that, and Kevin Howells will take over from me.
Dunkley continuing the rampage for England, 45 off just 34 now, and they're not showing signs of slowing down at all here. We always said this first game would be interesting because it's a side who came back from the Commonwealth Games with silver, that's India, and England losing out on the medal table, but they haven't looked like a side who lost out there. They've looked like a revitalised side under a new captain. It's been strong for them tonight.
Well, they've been talking about fresh starts. This could be it, and that is another 4 on the way to the fresh start from Dunkley. She moves to 49 off 35 balls, 111 for 1, just 22 needed from 58 balls now. But the story, for my mind, is not only of the fresh start and the strong performance from England here in the reply, but it's from the way things have just unravelled for India out there. I am prepared to say, as we now just go past 5 past 10 on a Saturday night in September, it's not a good time to be playing cricket, okay? But that said, there are things going on out there at the moment for India in the field that of which September and the time of day is absolutely no excuse. But maybe, a little bit of, misfielding, you yourself talking about the lights and that sort of thing on the odd occasion, but there's been too much of it to offer any excuse. A partnership brought up a 51 from 26 balls as well here, and it's Dunkley who is facing. Can she get to a half century? Will she do it with that shot? Yes, she will. It's out there on the offside, out through extra cover, settles for 1, brings up the 50. And for the majority of the crowd here tonight, they're delighted to be seeing England dominant, delighted to be seeing that second 50 from 32 international T20 matches, and they're on their feet for Sophia Dunkley. And I'm not surprised. It takes England to 112 for 1. That innings has had a bit of everything, including 15 dot balls, 7 fours and a 6, but that doesn't tell half the tale, particularly of the first couple of overs. But it's still terrific stuff. Capsey with a little bit of width, won't get that one past the fielder. That's a fine piece of fielding, actually, a good stop.
She's completely slipped over in the process, but still
I don't care, she stopped it.
Accurately throw the ball into the
she stopped
stumps.
it, okay?
I was not being critical, I was saying she's done good to field it whilst not being on her feet.
Yeah, exactly. This is Rana bowling her 3rd over, and along the ground up there to the boundary where Kaur does the fielding. Again, not too sure why she picked the ball up and threw it ahead of herself again. I think
she's a bit angry still.
Well, this is international cricket. Sure, time to show passion, but that wasn't a good scene a couple of overs ago, was it? At this level, at any level of cricket. Dunkley meantime's on 50, and Rana bowls and looking to cut that one away, reaching for it a little there, Dunkley.
I can't help but feel that, have you seen those viral videos where there are often people working in storage facilities or factories where they're carrying a big load and one thing falls off the top of the pile and everything collapses to the floor, so one water bottle will slip and then you suddenly see an employee surrounded. This is what it's felt like. That first no ball in the first over was that first water bottle falling off the top of the crate, and every water bottle has fallen down. India surrounded by water bottles.
I could have stopped you at the point where you asked me if I'd seen that viral video, because I mean the answer would have been no.
Lots
but
of viral
I like
videos.
I like it. I like the story. I think it does describe perfectly here what we've seen in front of us. And will that be another 4? Yes, it will. And again, a late, despairing dive. But in so many ways, it's all too late. But listen, look and learn. Alice Capsey, 27 off 16. I mean, this is phenomenal cricket from a phenomenal cricketer who's got so much still to come, so much still to entertain. It's genuinely giddy excitement, isn't it, for what we're going to see from young Alice Capsey. But she's on 27 here tonight, and that's driven along the ground up towards the field, coming up off the boundary at long off, and another single. I mean, it puts, how much time did we give over to talking about that target, whether or not it was going to be an easy one or not to get, at 118 for 1 with 50 needed off 52 balls.
I think they needed 180 on the board for it to be defendable, maybe. England have just completely rolled over this India side in this response.
Dunkley on 50 in the air. Is that going to be a 4? It may not be. It's over the initial fielder. But you have to keep an eye on it. Coming back for a second and making it comfortably in the end. 2 more runs for England, 120 for 1. To say the majority of the crowd tonight lapping this up.
They are, and at this stage, I must say, with a part-time off-spinner Verma and Kaur, it just feels like a bit of pie chucking from India.
Next ball, width, tries to drive with that, doesn't get anything on it. Oh no, umpire Pollard has signalled the wide. I can't look. What's the reaction? Is it okay?
Someone's thrown a chair.
121 for 1. 12 from 51 balls. Burma bowls and full into the offside, and no run. I mean, look, for all that, especially the experienced players out there, they are going to be really hurting about this performance tonight, because actually they're a lot better than what we've seen on show tonight, in the fielding especially, aren't they?
Absolutely. They'll be incredibly disappointed in the way they've gone about this fielding innings. I think every member of this Indian team, and also how they've conducted themselves, speaking of that incident with Harmanpreet Kaur.
Dunkley on 52, out there through mid-wicket. Getting the long barrier down, getting that leg down, you see, everybody. That's the way to do it. And it's still another run to the total, though. 122 for 1, 11 off 49.
What's your guess for how many balls left it's going to take?
Have we got to playing games like that, have we?
We've got to playing games.
Oh, no. Capsey's on 28. Next ball, driven along the ground. And that's a lovely placed drive. It's not going to go to the boundary, though. They'll come back for 2. So for the fact they're finding the boundaries, quite often, they're still concentrating, getting the running right as well. They're not thinking, we're not going to risk anything here. Good, steady, solid 2. 121 for 4. 9 needed from 48 balls. I'm going to go for 42.
Ooh, I was going to go 5 balls left. So.
Pardon?
I was going to say it would only take 5 balls. What would that be? 43?
Well, there's no big difference between 42 and 43 when I went to school. But I know you went to school more recently. In fact, you're still at school. So when I went to school, that was quite a close call there, 42 and 43. Has it changed? The way your workings out, I know, have changed, but surely...
The workings out have clearly changed for the worse, because that was some pretty incompetent maths. But Renuka Singh Thakur is back into the attack for her final over. She's probably been the pick of the Indian bowlers. She's bowled 3 for 30.
I do feel for her, because it should have been a wicket. I know it's ultimately her responsibility, the no ball and everything. And now she's been called upon here, and it could well be that off this over the winning runs are scored, and that's a full delivery, just placed out into the offside by Dunkley for a single, and moves to 54. And 125 for 1.
For me, the best thing about this partnership has been that Capsey and Dunkley, they are this generation of growing professionalism in the UK. They're the KSL generation. They're the Charlotte Edwards Cup, the Rachel Ayo Flint Trophy. Playing for their domestic regions has moulded them for this occasion, and they've just stepped up onto this platform and just shone on an international stage.
Full out of the reach of the bowler, Thakur, and therefore 1. She deserves a figure in that wickets column, to be honest. It currently reads no wicket, but she really has mixed it up. She's been really, really good tonight, but it's not going to be for her or her team. Oh, pulled out of the way, but
I think I would too if it's this cold.
well, exactly, because all that really would have done was have hit the fingernails or whatever, or the little finger, and yeah, exactly. Sensible cricket. 126 for 1. Dunkley facing, drives along the ground for 1, and the score moves up to 55.
I think we should have checked who was bowling the next over before making our predictions, because this has been an incredibly tight over so far, and I don't see her conceding 6 runs from these last 3 balls. I could be wrong, but she's bowled a good full line so far, getting the ball in the block hole. There's not been much Capsey and Dunkley can do. In fact, they're just seeing out this over, it feels.
Capsey's on 31. Slower ball, driven again for another single, and she will move on to 32. And it's 128 for 1. But you see, I think you'll find, again, a little bit of intelligence there. Dare I say it myself. I went 42, okay? So I am therefore going to win because I will be the closest.
You will.
Thank you very much.
You're used to this.
Although I did, well, I'm not actually. I'm not used to playing these games, but I'm all for it. I'm right up for it, as they say.
Do you not do this in the county championship?
No, we don't. Dunkley's on 55. It's in the air, but it's going to be safe, but only just out of the reach of the fielder out there. Could come back for a second here. Comes back for 2. Will they make it? Well, I think the umpire might want to have a look at that. They usually do. And she is.
Review.
The big voice says the umpire review. I think, and you think?
I think Capsey's in there. From her body language, she had a full extension of the arm, hoovering the bat in. Doesn't look too worried. She just looks exhausted. These two have been running quite hard, and in the end she's comfortably home. She's actually past the second line where the stumps are by the time the ball hits. But there was a direct throw. It was good from the boundary, but just a little too late from India.
And that's going to cause the umpire to want to have a look, I'm sure. And maybe she felt her view was just slightly obscured there. Or maybe actually she's just been confident enough to say that's in. But I don't blame them really for checking.
Alice Capsey's just smirked at the camera pointed on her to say, I know I was in.
Dunkley's on 57. That's played away there. It's going to go all the way to the boundary. It is indeed. That is it. England win by 9 wickets. A comfortable victory in the end, made all the more comfortable by some pretty atrocious fielding from India. But a confident, as predicted by Alice Capsey herself, fresh start from England. She's out there to see England home. They're underway in the first of this 3-match series of T20 internationals, to be followed by the ODIs as well. But the series is underway in unusual circumstances, respectful circumstances, bearing in mind the news of the week. But if we were setting out to give tribute to Her Majesty the Queen and to remember and celebrate the life thereof, this has been a truly wonderful celebration from England, and a good, comfortable win by 9 wickets.
It has. It feels like both the England women's team and the England men's team have gone out there and they've played with pride for their country and that desire to bring people together in the crowd. And it's been a comprehensive win for England. Dunkley and Capsey, I mean, they looked almost invincible out there in the middle. It's almost a bit of an anticlimax where you hype up this series so much. You say that these two teams are going to be the most evenly matched teams, and it's almost in some ways a shame. I know it sounds weird to say when England have just won by 9 wickets, but that wasn't India at their best at all. They can field better than that, they can bowl better than that, they can bat better than that. And I'd like to think going forwards to this second T20 at Derby on Tuesday and then the final T20 at Bristol on Thursday, it would be nice for that Thursday game in Bristol to be a series decider, and I'd like to think that this fired up Harmanpreet Kaur is going to come back with a bit of passion for her team, a bit of something to fight for.
She may come back with a little less money in her pocket, is what I'm thinking she may come back with.
Maybe a little slap on the wrist.
And maybe a little slap on the wrists. I think she could get into serious trouble, actually, for that tonight.
Yeah,
because that wasn't particularly clever. Melissa, thank you very much for your time. I want to hear from Deep Das Gupta as well before the evening finishes. But Alice Capsey, 32, not out of 20 balls. Sophia Dunkley, 61 off 44. And there were, by the way, 42 balls remaining. I hope you noticed that. I don't know. Sometimes with the younger ones, Deep, you got to play their games, and isn't it wonderful when you win?
Yeah, absolutely.
But more's the point. Danny Wyatt stumped after bowling of Rana for 24 off 16, and then Dunkley and Capsey sing it home. 17 extras in there, 13 overs only. That was a lot of balls remaining of the game, and for a 9-wicket victory, comfortable from England's perspective. But I do want to be fair to all involved here tonight, because it was an unusual build-up to the game. Okay, I'm not too sure how much the players will have felt what we perhaps felt. It was very emotionally charged. I was surprised how emotionally charged I felt right at the beginning, about 7:20, 10 minutes before the start of the game tonight, with everything else that's going on, the decision to play the game and everything. But the fact that, regardless of that, we're playing here late on a Saturday night in September. It's not ideal time to be playing cricket, even T20 cricket. But you can only lay out so many excuses, really, for India in their fielding, and just their general response and behaviour even.
I do understand what you're saying, and I agree as well. September, it's cold, and Melissa was talking about it as well. It is really cold outside, September evening. But then you're here for 10 days already, and what were you expecting? It's going to be cold. We saw earlier in the day the English fielders using hand warmers, so it's going to be cold. But that, again, at this level, you should be prepared. As simple as that. You're going to go there in September. You're going to play night games. It's going to be cold. Prepare accordingly. And this was very, very disappointing, because there's no shame in losing, and England's a really good side as well. But it's the manner in which they kind of played the game. This is what I thought right from the word go. I thought India were defensive in their approach. And I mentioned it the first time I came on air. They should have sent someone like Navgire at number 3 with kind of batting depth that India had in this game, batting down till number 10. They could have been a little more expressive, and I know this was a tricky pitch and everything else, but you still got to, this is a format which allows you to play fearlessly, take a few more chances. And I thought, India were conservative from ball 1 or word go, especially after losing Smriti Mandana during the power play overs. I thought India could have approached it a little better this whole game, and same with the bowling. Apart from that first over, or rather all 4 overs from Thakur, everyone else were like average, and the fielding was if I can say this, was kind of embarrassing at this level.
And some of that definitely wasn't anything to do with September or the time of night. Just non-committed at times, non-committed. But there is more to come. There are 5 more games, so we've got 2 more T20, and they will come back. There will be more, and I think that's what we saw in some of the frustration, which maybe wasn't played out properly there on occasions in the field. But I think what we saw there was a full realisation of just how bad they have been, how frustrated they'll be with their own performance, and they will look to come back bigger and better next time.
Well, absolutely. They'd be the first to raise their hand and say, we were terrible today, especially on the field. Bowling wise as well, lost Radha Yadav quite early with that injury. Obviously that didn't help, but the team selection as well. You've packed your team with players who could bat. Fair enough. I thought they were a bowler shot, as a seamer shot, not a bowler shot, but a seamer shot. Went in with only 2 seamers. And was kind of defensive from word go, starting from the playing 11 is what I think.
Well, we hope for a keener and more closely fought contest throughout the rest of the series. And you know what? I think we're probably going to get it. I really do, because we know that India are far better than what we saw on show there tonight in all aspects of the game as well. But as I say, from the majority of the crowd's point of view, and there were 4,036 in the ground tonight, which I think was a good turnout, because the weather was very off-putting, to say the least, at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock this afternoon. So that was and majority, but not all. There was a good vocal support as well for India supporters here, which was lovely to see and hear. With everything else, and the majority of the support, though, they'll be delighted following the bitter disappointment in the Commonwealth Games. That didn't go the way that England had planned, so they come back with a good, strong performance from a very young group of players there. Let's not forget that. I think is both encouraging and very exciting from the England supporters' point of view here in the northeast.